Chapter 188. Yu Yang could clearly see the state of Tu Cheng's body after triple strengthening. However, he wasn't sure if he could achieve the same effect with his shadow, because Tu Cheng was using a completely different kind of strange beast. Volcano was supposed to be an element-type beast. How could it fuse with an ancient beast and a giant dragon? Yu Yang felt that it was very strange, but Tu Cheng did it again. With the truth in front of him, Yu Yang couldn't help but be suspicious. Tu Cheng, who was covered in flames, looked like a flaming giant. He raised his giant fist and smashed it down. Of course, Yu Yang wouldn't take it head-on, so he retreated. Flaming spear. Tu Cheng condensed the flames on his body into a flaming spear and threw it towards Yu Yang. Taking advantage of Yu Yang's evasion, he instantly moved behind Yu Yang. He didn't punch Yu Yang's body, but hit the ground with all his strength. Rumble, a loud sound. The ground cracked, and a volcano was summoned by him. Magma gushed out. If Yu Yang was dizzy from the shock just now, he would have fallen into the red magma and melted into green smoke. At the very least, he would have been sprayed by the magma. However, after Yu Yang's afterimage disappeared, his real body appeared in front of Impatience. Yu Yang angrily shouted at Impatience, "What are you doing? If you have something to say, say in front of everyone. Why do you have to whisper in my ear and not talk about proper business? So annoying. Of course I'm whispering sweet nothings to you. It's so embarrassing to let them know." Impatience covered her mouth and laughed. She didn't care about Yu Yang's attitude at all. "I have nothing to say to you." Yu Yang felt that this girl was using him as a shield. Maybe she didn't like Sky Dragon's entanglement. On the surface, she found a boyfriend and let Sky Dragon put all his attention on her. She was so free and unfettered. Not only did he not gain any advantage, but he had to take the blame. It was really annoying. Impatience blinked her electrifying eyes and smiled charmingly. "All right, I won't say any more. Little sweetheart, you can focus on your competition." Yu Yang was enraged. "Who's your little sweetheart? I have nothing to do with you. If you let me have the upper hand, that's fine. But now, I haven't gotten any advantage at all. After the fight, if you let me push you down, it won't be too late to call me little sweetheart then." When Impatience heard this, she seemed to be very aggrieved. She lowered her head and touched her two little fingers. "It still hurts there. You don't want to admit it as soon as you turn your back." Everyone pricked up their ears to listen to the gossip. On the other side, Tu Cheng took the opportunity to raise his battle prowess. He also secretly summoned a few volcanoes and hid them underground. As long as Yu Yang stepped on them, they would erupt. Jun Wuyu and Elder Yu Hai looked at each other, feeling that something was wrong. Why did this brat Yu Yang suddenly run over to Tian Fa while they were fighting? Furthermore, he had always been calm and rational. How could he be angered so easily? Could it be that Tian Fa was using her hypnosis skill on him? The two Heavenly Imperial Guardians also looked at each other. They weren't familiar with Yu Yang, but they felt that Tian Fa was intentionally angering him. It seemed to be related to what she said just now. Just now, Tian Fa said, "Get angry. As long as you get angry, you will win. Your opponent only has a hard shell. He is very easy to deal with." Yu Yang was usually a very calm person. He was good at scheming against his opponent, and his reaction speed was extremely fast. This kind of person was the hardest to anger. But once he got angry, his explosive power would also be very terrifying. "Where are you hurting? I didn't even touch you." Yu Yang exploded in anger. He was beaten up badly by her previously and was even sent flying by her breast. If one were to say that he was in pain, he should be the one who was in pain, right? At that time, you were angry and pressed me onto the ground. You were like a raging bull. You didn't stop even when I cried out in pain. If it wasn't for the fact that I have a good body, I would have lost my life long ago. When Impatience said that, Yu Yang almost vomited blood. He didn't even remember that he had pushed this girl down. He would be happy if this girl didn't push him down. How could he push her down? Yu Yang turned his head to look and realized that Sky Dragon's face was even darker than Lord Bao's. The flames spewing out from his eyes were 100 times, 1,000 times hotter than Tu Cheng's dragon breath. He practically wanted to burn himself to death with the anger in his eyes. Everyone on the other side had a little misunderstanding. This wasn't strange. If Tian Fa loved handsome guys, it wouldn't be strange for this guy to push her down. If there wasn't any relationship, would she protect him like this? That was obviously impossible. Don't say that I didn't. Even if I really did it on the spot, I wouldn't take responsibility. Scram. Yu Yang felt that he could push her down, but he definitely wouldn't take responsibility. Who said that if he pushed her down, he had to take her home as his wife? After pushing her down, couldn't they just maintain their lover's relationship? If he pushed her down and brought her home, would he still have the blissful sexual life of a family? Like Inan, Princess Sisai, and Fallen Flowers, the city lord had pushed them down. He had a few wives and brought them home to warm his bed. This was still fine. After all, they were women that he liked. But who would want a woman like the Impatience? If he pushed her down, then so be it. He would just treat it as a one-night stand. Besides, Yu Yang also suspected that he didn't do it. If he did, it would be weird if this girl didn't suck him dry. After that, his body was filled with spiritual energy and his strength was endless. How would he have collapsed from the battle? He remembered that his clothes were neat and tidy, and there were even a few girls watching from the side. If he really did it with the Impatience, it would be weird if they didn't work together to kill him. Most importantly, that mysterious big-breasted beauty might have already arrived. If he wanted to push down the Impatience, she would probably stop him. Of course, if he really did push down the Impatience. That was also possible, because Yu Yang didn't remember what he did after he went berserk. Maybe he really tore off the Impatience's clothes, pressed her down, and did it on the spot. Yu Yang wasn't sure, but his attitude showed everything. Whether he did it or not, he wouldn't take responsibility. As the saying goes, it's a waste not to do it. Even if you do it, it's still a waste. This was his attitude. This kind of ruthlessness, he wouldn't use it on Inan, Fallen Flowers, Qian, and that girl who loved to read books. But for the Impatience, even if he did it 100 times, Yu Yang felt that it would be a waste. Anyway, she came to him looking for a beating, so why should he be polite with her? Don't be so ruthless to me. If you do this, my heart will also be broken. The Impatience didn't mind Yu Yang's reaction at all. She seductively twisted her slender waist, and her delicate face moved closer to Yu Yang's lips. Her slender fingers lifted Yu Yang's chin, and her cherry lips breathed out, "I'm also worried about you. You should quickly finish the fight so that you can go and save Fourth Mother." These words were like a bolt from the blue, exploding in Yu Yang's mind. All his thoughts disappeared, and only Fourth Mother's smile remained. If you don't go and save her, she might meet with some mishap. At that time, you won't be able to be filial to her. You are her obedient Sanner. You still haven't repaid her for raising you. If she gets killed, it will be too late for you to regret it. The Impatience whispered into Yu Yang's ear and blew out pink bubbles. In an instant, Yu Yang's aura changed. The innates on the other side realized that Yu Yang's aura was like a volcano, hiding a huge amount of energy and could erupt at any time. Everyone was secretly on their guard. The 1,000 Goblins sect leader protested and lightly snorted, "Tian Fa, this doesn't seem to be in accordance with the rules, right? A one-on-one supreme martial artist battle. Are you helping him, or are you trying to interfere with the battle?" The Impatience's jade-like fingers lightly brushed past Yu Yang's eyes. Her little face flashed with a mysterious radiance, and her eyes seemed to be mocking him. "I am actually helping you guys. Aren't we allies? Just now, I saw that your people were desperately setting up the volcano seal underground. Their movements were not hidden at all, so I specially asked my little enemy to come over to talk so that you guys could finish setting up the volcano seal first. Now that I think it's almost done, you guys have set up 10 volcano seals on this battlefield. Aren't I helping you guys?" The 1,000 Goblin sect leader was slightly embarrassed and immediately explained, "Actually, the volcano is an element-type beast that both Tu Cheng and Quang Zhan share. When Tu Cheng summoned the volcano, Quang Zhan would definitely react. You have misunderstood." The Impatience elegantly shrugged her shoulders and lightly kissed Yu Yang's cheek. "Then it's my fault. Little fellow, don't die here, otherwise your Fourth Mother will also lose her life." Fourth Mother. Yu Yang's originally absent-minded eyes suddenly flashed with a lightning-like radiance. The hidden aura exploded out 1,000 times, 10,000 times more ferocious than Tu Cheng's volcano eruption. In the midst of his furious roar, Yu Yang released all the power in his body in an instant. Even the power that he couldn't control, even the power that he didn't know was hidden in his body, had completely exploded out. The ancient runes started to revolve crazily, forming a brand new runic circle. Behind him, a gigantic runic circle spread out like a halo. Following that, a smaller runic circle started to revolve inside it. The brilliant light shot out like a sharp arrow. The innate rankers tried to block it with their hands, but they realized that their palms were in pain from the light. The two people with the weakest power realized that their fingers had been grazed by the light, and they couldn't help but feel fear. This was merely the light that exploded out from his body, yet it already had such terrifying power. What would happen if they were hit by his fist? He has already reached innate level 2. The silver giant Kuang Zhan, who was standing behind the sect leader, said with a trembling voice, "No, he has already reached innate level 3. The Thousand Goblin sect leader's voice also carried a tinge of bitterness. He had never seen such a person before. He could actually raise his power to such a level in an instant. He really couldn't believe his own eyes. Furthermore, the furious Yu Yang's power was still increasing. Innate level 3 was still not his limit. A flame that could destroy everything appeared. It was thousands of times more powerful than the magma of a volcano. The pure flame caused all the innate rankers' expressions to change. Everyone had the urge to run away, because this was the nirvana flame that even an innate could not withstand. If there were only 2 balls of nirvana flame, it would have already caused the innate rankers to tremble with fear. However, they saw that on Yu Yang's body, there was a 10-meter tall pillar of nirvana flame. That kind of world-destroying flame made everyone feel powerless. Fortunately, this pillar of nirvana flame only shot towards the sky and did not hit them directly. Otherwise, other than the Thousand Goblin sect leader, the rest of the people would probably be killed in one hit. The Thousand Goblin sect leader was also extremely afraid. His power had almost reached the pinnacle of the human race. There was almost no energy that could destroy his body and soul. However, among the few types of energy that could, the nirvana flame was one of them. At first, Impatience was also a little surprised. It was as if she could not believe that Yu Yang could explode to such a state after his second great berserk. She could faintly feel that her charm, inherent skill, was a perfect combination with this brat's anger. As long as she used her charm on him, then he would be able to continuously improve. Every time he went great berserk, every time he exploded, he would be able to fuse with the ancient runes even more, and he would be able to unleash even more power. Furthermore, the hidden nirvana flame in his body would also be able to unleash even more power. His future was limitless. As long as his body could withstand even more charm, she believed that he would be able to improve even more. No wonder her sister would think so highly of him and take the initiative to be his introducer. So this brat really had such a huge hidden potential. Impatience realized that she still could not see through Yu Yang's true potential. How could the ancient runes and the nirvana flame be able to fuse together like this? Why was there no rejection at all? What kind of innate technique did this brat train in? This was something that no one could do. Without successfully training in it, he did not even know that he possessed such a terrifying power. Yet, his body was able to fuse two completely different types of destructive power. His technique should be an unparalleled mystical technique, perhaps an innate technique from the ancient era. Otherwise, it would be impossible for such a mystical phenomenon to occur. Interesting, brat. How many more secrets do you have? Impatience's eyes were filled with smiles. Roar! Yu Yang's roar was like a clap of thunder. All of the nirvana flame was retracted and gathered in his hands. At this moment, how would Tu Chang still dare to fight against him? He was so scared that he hurriedly ran away. However, the enraged Yu Yang was 1,000 times faster than lightning. In an instant, he had already caught up to Tu Chang, who was flying with dragon wings. With a wave of his hand, Tu Cheng's body, which was protected by the enormous heat of a volcano, was destroyed in the middle by the nirvana flame in Yu Yang's hands. It was split into two and fell to the ground. The opposing innate rancors were so scared that they swallowed their saliva. So strong. This was the genuine nirvana flame. The heat of a volcano was just a joke in front of it. The giant dragon and the ancient giant beast that had escaped from Tu Cheng's body cried out in pain. Before they could escape, they had already been punched by the enraged Yu Yang. The nirvana flame spear that was shot out from his fists pierced through the giant dragon and the ancient giant beast. Instant kill. The Thousand Goblin sect leader's heart trembled. Even in his anger, this brat could still use the flame spear that Tu Cheng had used just now. This kind of learning ability was really frightening. Spare me. Tu Cheng felt the shadow of death looming over his heart. If he did not beg for mercy now, the only result would be death. You dare to kill my fourth mother. I will kill you without mercy. Although the enraged Yu Yang had not completely lost his mind, 90% of his mind was filled with killing intent. Begging for mercy was useless against him. He raised his right fist that was burning with nirvana flame and smashed Tu Cheng's head. None of the innate rancors on the opposite side dared to stop him, including the Thousand Goblin sect leader. He was confident that he could defeat the current Yu Yang, but he could not guarantee that he would not be injured by the attack of nirvana flame. Furthermore, he still did not understand the meaning of the gigantic runic battle formation behind Yu Yang. If this battle formation was the legendary world exterminating wheel and eternal wheel, then he would be in big trouble. Even if he could escape from the imprisonment of these two runic battle formations, his strength would probably be greatly reduced. If he went to save Yu Yang now, he might not even have a place in the top 10 innate rankers. Furthermore, that giggling Sky Law, if he was injured, would she really let him go so easily? There was also the Night Empress who was secretly eyeing him. When the Thousand Goblin sect leader thought of this, his heart turned cold. The silver giant Kuang Zhan and Tu Cheng were brothers, and they had a deep bond. However, he only took a step forward before he stopped and cried out in sorrow. His action of wanting to save Yu Yang had angered the furious Yu Yang. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Kill all those who harm my fourth mother. Go and die. As he went berserk again, the nirvana flame on both his arms started to burn fiercely, and the two rotating runic battle formations behind his back actually followed his will and shot toward the silver giant Kuang Zhan. Fight! The silver giant Kuang Zhan was shocked to find that he was actually unable to dodge, as if he had been locked by the runic battle formation's light wheel. He could only use all of his strength to pull out his sword and furiously slash towards the light wheel formed by the runic battle formation. Without a sound, the runic battle formation's light will pierce through his body, and after a few hundred meters away, it dispersed into millions of runic light spots and returned to Yu Yang's body. The silver giant Kuang Zhan's body was sliced into two by the runic battle formation's light wheel, and he fell to the ground with a loud bang. Instant kill. All the innate rancors were filled with fear. The Thousand Goblin sect leader said with certainty, causing them to tremble even more, because the Thousand Goblin sect leader was talking about the world exterminating wheel. Unless one was an innate level 5 or above rancor, only then would they be able to escape from the world exterminating wheel. If not, the result would be the same as the silver giant Kuang Zhan, being sliced into two by the world exterminating wheel. This kind of world exterminating wheel was not something that a rancor below innate level 5 could control. How could it be used by a mere innate level 1 brat? No one could understand the answer, but no one would doubt the truth. The silver giant Kuang Zhan's corpse was the best proof. I'll kill you all, kill. The furious Yu Yang flew high up into the sky. The world exterminating wheel that had originally disappeared actually condensed once again, and it was even bigger than before. There was even nirvana flame burning at the edge of the wheel. Looks like after using it once, Yu Yang's control had become even better. The innate rancors on the other side were shocked. This abnormal brat could actually use it again. Was this brat really innate level 1? Even a level 5 innate could only use it once. Furthermore, Other than this brat, no one had ever seen anyone else who could use the world-exterminating wheel without suffering any backlash or side effects. 500 years ago, there was a crazy innate ranker who had successfully researched runic circles and used the world-exterminating wheel once. In the end, he, who was an innate level 6, suffered from the backlash, and his body exploded into pieces, leaving behind only a skull. This brat was fine after using it once, but he still wanted to use it a second time. The innate rankers did not want to become the target of his massacre, so they quickly left the dimension of battle. Now that Tu Cheng was dead, if they did not leave now, the next one to die might be them. Who would want to fight against an angry and abnormal little lunatic? Even the Thousand Goblin sect leader, who was the strongest among them, looked deeply at Yu Yang for a while, then also drew a runic circle, cut the space apart, and left in a flash. When Yu Yang saw that all the enemies had left and he had lost his target, he suddenly could not get angry anymore. His vision darkened. The runic circle and Nirvana's flame in his hands quickly returned to his body. He lost control and fell down from the sky. Elder Yu Hai hugged him desperately. This was his grandson, let alone the fact that he did not have Nirvana's flame. Even if he had it, he would not let go. Junyu was also extremely happy. He was the second one to rush to Yu Yang's side, clapping his hands excitedly and cheering. What's so good about it? This brat is too arrogant. He cannot use his innate strength for at least 3 months, otherwise he will suffer. Impatience floated to Yu Yang's head and bent down. Her big eyes flirtatiously looked at him. How is it, little sweetheart? Does it feel good to use your innate strength too much? Your body will be in pain for at least a month. You cannot use your innate strength for 3 months, otherwise your weak body will explode. It's all your fault. Yu Yang felt pain all over his body. He felt like he had overdrafted his energy. If he still had energy left, he would have slapped Impatience away. At the very least, he would have grabbed her breasts. He would not let her off so easily. However, he felt that it was difficult to even raise his hand now. The 2 heavenly imperial guardians of the Xia Empire took turns to comfort Yu Yang. Don't worry. Your body is not used to using your innate strength at first. That's why it reacted like this. Furthermore, you had overdrafted your energy just now. There's no big problem. Your body did not suffer any backlash from the world-exterminating wheel. And there are no sequelae either. Your body is very good. A normal innate might need a year to recover, but you only need a month. It is already very fast. Rest well, and try to comprehend the state you are in just now. It will be beneficial for you. I don't have time. I need to save Fourth Mother. Yu Yang panted heavily. If he did not save Fourth Mother, his heart would not be at peace. Beg me. Only then will I consider sending you to the Stardog Ridge. Before Impatience could finish speaking, Yu Yang used all his energy and jumped out from Elder Yu Hai's embrace. He threw her onto the ground and grabbed her trembling breasts, shouting loudly, "Stop acting like a spoiled child in front of me. I won't fall for it." Impatience did not think that Yu Yang could still do such a perverted thing after the big battle. Startled, she who was floating in the air was thrown onto the ground by Yu Yang. Elder Yu Hai, Jun Wu Yu, and the others were also startled, but they immediately turned around and left. They chatted as if nothing had happened. Jun Wu Yu said to Elder Yu Hai, "Today's weather is not bad." Feng Kuang replied, "Your Majesty, today's sky is blue and the sun is shining brightly. It's very suitable for fishing." As for Elder Yu Hai, he nodded in agreement. "I have a fishing boat." The 2 heavenly imperial guardians and the state grandmaster also joined in the fun. "We haven't gone out for a long time. Our old bones are about to rust." Jun Wu Yu opened a teleportation scroll and invited them. "Then what is everyone waiting for? Feng Kuang, prepare some wine." They left just like that, as if nothing had happened, leaving behind Yu Yang and Impatience who was pressed down on the ground. They stared dumbfoundedly at the group of old fellows swaggering away as if there was no one else around. Yu Yang's perverted hands were still pressed on Impatience's snow-white breasts. When the 2 of them reacted, Yu Yang pulled his hands back and realized that he had used too much force. That incomparably tender breasts had become a little red. In for a penny, in for a pound. Yu Yang felt that the Phoenix Fairy Beauty's body was soft and limp, and her delicate fragrance wafted in waves. His wolfish heart was aroused, and in a moment of hot-headedness, he decided that he might as well push this arrogant girl down. Wait, what do you want to do? Impatience was a little flustered, especially when she saw Yu Yang tearing her clothes. She screamed even louder. What do I want to do? What do you think I want to do? Yu Yang felt that what she said was nonsense. Furthermore, she had already done it once. Why was she still pretending? It wouldn't be much even if she did it again. I don't mind, but don't you want to beg forth, mother? Impatience rolled her eyes. Yu Yang immediately pulled up his pants and jumped up when he heard this. He roared angrily. Get lost. I hate seductive vixen like you the most. You make me feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Next time you see me, get lost. Otherwise, I'll rape you every time I see you. Although Yu Yang scolded her, he felt very guilty in his heart. He had let his lust get to his head, forgetting about saving forth mother. He hurriedly opened the teleportation scroll and raised the teleportation gate to the Starved Dog Ridge. Chapter 189. In the Dual Space. Impatience frowned slightly. She muttered to herself, why did the little guy set up a teleportation point here before he teleported away? Is it a habit? No, if it's a habit, then he wouldn't have secretly hidden it from me. He must have some secret. Could it be that he still wants to come back to collect Tu Cheng and Kuang Zhan's relics? Tu Cheng's Kuang Zhan's items are all items that recognize their owners, so it's useless for him to bring them here. That's strange. Why don't I take a peek? But if I place an eye of truth here and he finds out, he'll definitely be very angry. Forget it. One day, I'll dig out the secrets on your body. Why don't you wait for him here? With his senses, it's impossible for him to discover you. The Night Empress' voice rang out. You scare me to death. Night Empress, you haven't left yet? Impatience was shocked. She patted her towering breasts cutely and complained coquettishly. Don't act coquettishly towards me. Your tricks are useless against me. Skylaw, if you don't mind me being long-winded, I would like to remind you to stay away from Yu Yang. Otherwise, you might regret it. The Night Empress' voice was gentle, like a gentle breeze blowing on the surface of a lake. Thank you for the reminder. However, you know he's dangerous, so why don't you stay away from him? Impatience smiled enchantingly and asked, because he's a pair with our Luo Hua, so he's considered my junior. Of course I have to watch over him, so I definitely won't let you bring him to the demonic palace. Furthermore, it's best not to do stupid things. I could hear that your sister was really angry just now. Skylaw, aren't you afraid of being captured by her and sealed in a dark room for 100 or 200 years? I remember that you were just released not long ago, right? Do you think that you can fight against your sister just because you've made great progress? The Night Empress did not appear, and her voice was indifferent. I want to live freely. As long as I'm happy, I don't care about any seals. When Impatience mentioned the seal, her expression changed slightly. It was obvious that she was not as relaxed as she said. Keep trying to show off. The Night Empress chuckled, and her voice gradually disappeared. She, who was invisible, silently left the dual space. No matter what, I'm going to make a mess of this situation. In any case, I've never been a likable person. Ha ha. I'm a bad woman. I'm a bad woman. Of course I'm going to do bad things. Ha ha ha. Impatience was in a daze for a long time. Then she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that a single tear rolled down her delicate face. She laughed incessantly while drawing out a rune diagram formation. She tore apart space and disappeared without a trace. After she disappeared, a faintly discernible sigh came from the dual space. It was faint and almost inaudible. Starved Dog Ridge. At this time, the sky was covered in dark clouds. Although the rain had stopped, there were still puddles of water everywhere, making it extremely humid. Yu Yang felt pain all over his body, but with the thought of saving Fourth Mother, he forced himself to move forward. Right now, the spiritual energy in his body was not enough to summon the Bloody Queen. Luckily, he had Little Wen Li, this considerate and obedient lowly. Little Wen Li also used some unknown method to enter the divine grimoire and help Yu Yang summon the Bloody Queen. At this time, the direction that little Wen Li was pointing at was not the biggest valley in the Star Dog Ridge. Although there were some strange and noisy noises coming from the valley, as if someone was fighting, and Yu Yang wanted to go and see what was going on a few times, he still believed in Xiao Wen Li's senses. The direction that she was pointing at was the back of the Star Dog Ridge. There were a few unconnected valleys in the middle. If they wanted to reach there, they had to go around the mountains and head towards the right side of the Star Dog Ridge. Although the Bloody Queen could bring Yu Yang to fly in the sky, she couldn't fly for a long time. Moreover, Yu Yang was extremely anxious. He decided to let her set off first to save Fourth Mother. Every second earlier counted. Find Fourth Mother as soon as possible. If you can't report back quickly, protect her in secret. Do you understand what I mean? Yu Yang knew that there were no more innate rancors in the Star Dog Ridge, but the Thousand Goblins sect might still have some little innates. He didn't dare to be careless. As he sent the Bloody Queen to search for Fourth Mother, he also endured his extreme fatigue and pain as he headed towards the direction that Little Wen Li had sensed. Following Little Wen Li's directions, Yu Yang spent half an hour to reach the back of the Star Dog Ridge. There was a huge precipice there. On the other half of the precipice, there were jagged rocks protruding out. After circling around the precipice, there was a towering mountain ridge that reached the clouds. The name of this precipice was not very pleasant to hear. It was called Dog Leg Wall. It was not named because it looked like a dog's leg, nor was it located at the back of the Star Dog Ridge. It was said that there was a shameless traitor who walked along this precipice during a battle between two armies and secretly lured the enemies into the valley. He then made the enemies attack the defending army in the valley from both the front and the back. In the end, tens of thousands of soldiers were completely annihilated. In order to remember the traitor's evil deeds, the later generations named this place with a hidden path as Dog Leg Wall. Whether the legend was true or not, Yu Yang didn't know. However, there was definitely a small path leading to the inside of the valley. This was confirmed by the Warrior Guild. If the Warrior Guild didn't confirm it, they wouldn't have drawn a line that represented a small path on the map. The Bloody Queen was nowhere to be seen. Yu Yang endured the pain and climbed up the smooth precipice that normal warriors wouldn't be able to climb. At this moment, he realized that there was another world above. On a slippery precipice, there was actually a cave that couldn't be seen below. Even if Yu Yang didn't have a sharp sense of smell like Hui Tai Lang, he could still smell a strong smell of blood. It was coming from inside the cave. Just as he was about to sneak into the cave, a black figure appeared behind him. Hui Jin magic blade slashed violently. It was just a hair's breadth away. When it was about to slash the other party's head, Yu Yang forcefully stopped the Hui Jin magic blade. This was because Yu Yang realized that the person who had suddenly appeared behind him was the principal who had promised to help him save his sister. Right now, she was still wearing her original clothes. Her face was covered with a white veil. Fresh blood was flowing out of her mouth like a red plum blossom blooming. Seeing this, Yu Yang felt very guilty. It was because she wanted to help him find Fourth Mother that she had forcefully overdraft her body to use the Heart Call inherent skill. Now, she definitely couldn't find her sister, so she came to the Star Dog Ridge. Yu Yang supported the beautiful principal whose body was swaying and asked softly, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. I wasn't injured by someone. It's just an old illness. It's not a big deal." The beautiful principal whose face was covered with a white veil comforted Yu Yang instead. "Your Fourth Mother is fine. Wu Xia is protecting her secretly. Meanwhile, Qian Qian and Fallen Flowers are waiting for an opportunity to save her. My body is weak, so I can't help much. That's why I stayed outside to wait for you. You can go in now. Seeing that you're here, I'm relieved." The beautiful principal's body was trembling. When she spoke, the blood from her cherry lips dyed her white veil red. "Wu Xia?" Yu Yang was startled. Was that the name of that mysterious beauty who loved to read books? Seeing that the beautiful principal's body was on the verge of collapsing, he hurriedly placed his palm on her back and used his innate qi to heal her. The beautiful principal struggled slightly and resisted. "Don't waste your energy. My illness has already reached the point where it can't be cured. You should save your energy to fight." I'll go back and rest. I didn't manage to find your sister. She should have been brought back by the state preceptor. When you see Wu Xia, don't tell her that I used spirit cry. If she asks, just tell her that you've never seen me before." Before she could finish her sentence, she had already collapsed on the ground. Yu Yang hurriedly carried her in his embrace and transferred a wave of innate qi into her body. Once the innate qi flowed through her body, Yu Yang discovered that the beautiful principal's physique was so weak that it was almost unbelievable. Even a medicine pot that had been bedridden for tens of years was probably stronger than her. Most importantly, Yu Yang discovered that there was a strange energy in her body that was constantly absorbing her life force. If it wasn't for this strange energy, she probably wouldn't be so weak. Yu Yang's innate qi was like a clay ox entering the sea. It was completely absorbed by that strange energy. Only a small amount was able to nourish the beautiful principal's internal organs. The beautiful principal slowly woke up. Her first reaction was to struggle out of Yu Yang's embrace. Her second action was to touch her face to see if the white veil was still there. Only when she discovered that Yu Yang didn't touch her veil did she secretly heave a sigh of relief. Yu Yang wanted to help her up, but the beautiful principal waved her hands and refused. "Don't waste any more time on me. Quickly go and save fourth mother. I can go home by myself. Don't worry, I have already endured for more than 10 years and haven't died yet. I won't die so easily. You really didn't touch my veil?" The beautiful principal opened a teleportation scroll. Before she walked into the teleportation scroll, she suddenly asked with a weak and trembling voice. "I didn't." Yu Yang shook his head. Actually, he had secretly looked at the beautiful principal's face just now. He discovered that other than her sickly pale face, she was really a peerless beauty. However, Yu Yang didn't recognize the beautiful principal at all. He felt that she was very unfamiliar. At first, he was a little suspicious that she was the mysterious beauty who loved to read books. However, he quickly denied it. That was because that girl wasn't as weak as the beautiful principal. Her voice sounded a little similar, but if he listened carefully, there was still a slight difference. The words and actions of the beautiful principal made Yu Yang extremely shocked. She seemed to know him long ago and seemed to have some kind of secret. She even sacrificed her body to help him find fourth mother. What made Yu Yang feel the most suspicious was that the mysterious beauty who loved to read books also seemed to know him very well. At the most dangerous time, she didn't hesitate to sacrifice herself to protect him. What was the relationship between the two of them? What was the relationship between the two of them and the pitiful guy? Or perhaps they knew the parents of the pitiful guy? Were they the relatives of the pitiful guy? It's good that you didn't. It's fine now. The beautiful principal's body trembled. She was about to fall down again. She wanted to leave immediately. Yu Yang hurriedly pulled her little hand and channeled his innate qi into her. At the same time, he dispelled his hesitation and gathered his courage to ask, "Did we know each other before?" "No, we didn't know each other before. I only got to know you after you came to the Ivy Academy to study." The beautiful principal's reply made Yu Yang even more confused. However, she didn't seem to be lying. This was what made Yu Yang feel the most dizzy. The beautiful principal's lily-white hands struggled slightly. Yu Yang was afraid that she would fall down due to her weak body, so he quickly let go of her hand and supported her from afar, preparing to send her away. Before the beautiful principal entered the teleportation gate, she turned her head slightly and nodded lightly. "I've heard of you before, but I've never seen you before. When I heard that you used a carriage to bring your fourth mother and sister back to the Yu Clan castle, I was very happy for you. A man should be like this. Hurry up and find your fourth mother. Don't waste your time on me. I have no relationship with you." Seeing the beautiful principal's weak body disappear, Yu Yang hurriedly turned around and flew back into the cave. He didn't believe that the beautiful principal had no relationship with him at all. They definitely had. Furthermore, that mysterious beauty who loved to read books must also have some special relationship with him. Of course, if they didn't want to say, he couldn't force them. When he found fourth mother, he would ask her again. Fourth mother would definitely tell him the truth. The passageway inside the cave was winding. Yu Yang saw a huge platform in front of him. The ground was in a mess, with countless corpses and weapons left behind. It seemed that a huge battle had happened here. There were actually a few forks in the road. This made him anxious. Where should he go? Suddenly, he saw the bloody queen flying out from a small hole. Yu Yang was instantly ecstatic. In front, river, I wait. The bloody queen gestured. Yu Yang couldn't understand what she meant for a moment, but when he rushed into the small hole, he saw an underground river in front of him. The bloody queen pointed downwards, hinting to Princess Sisai to chase after them. However, she didn't know how to dive, and was afraid that Yu Yang wouldn't be able to find her. She could only wait for Yu Yang outside. Yu Yang hurriedly kept her and jumped into the ice-cold water. He dove into the bottom of the water and followed the current. After more than 10 minutes, he didn't find any time to breathe. With regards to this waterway, Yu Yang frowned. If the warrior who captured Fourth Mother could hold his breath and swim, but Fourth Mother was an ordinary person, what could she do? In a cave 5 kilometers away from Yu Yang's underground river, Princess Sisai and City Mistress Fallen Flowers were fighting fiercely. Their strength was above their enemies, but the large group of enemies was mainly to delay them. 3 powerful warriors swam in the water but didn't fight. They were all experts in raising water-type beasts. They hid in an underground lake and guarded the entrance of the waterway. Princess Sisai and City Mistress Fallen Flowers didn't have any water-type beasts, so they couldn't defeat them even after a long time. They waited bitterly for Yu Yang, but he didn't come. The 2 girls became more and more anxious. In an underground passage at the bottom of the lake, the situation was completely opposite. It was the enemy's turn to attack, while the mysterious beauty blocked them, swapping the roles. An evil woman with a winged demon on her back and a skinny man with wolf claws attacked crazily. The mysterious beauty who loved to read used all her strength to block the 2's pursuit. These 2 people's strength were above level 7, Overlord. They seemed to be experts from the Thousand Goblins sect. They took turns to attack, but they couldn't do anything to the mysterious beauty who knew light wind teleportation, instant summon, thunderstorm, and other ultimate skills. Although the mysterious beauty couldn't fight them head-on and retreated step by step, she continued to hold on and didn't let the enemies overtake her easily. Although the 2 of them were strong, it wasn't easy to defeat her completely, especially when she was in danger. A small golden runic circle would appear between the mysterious beauty's eyebrows, increasing her strength by 10 times. In a short period of time, she could even force the 2 of them to retreat. It was just that the runic circle would only appear automatically when she was in danger. Furthermore, it could only be maintained for a short period of time. The mysterious beauty could only use its strength to hold on, and couldn't really defend against the 2 strong enemies' combined attacks. In front, in the depths of the underground passage, about 10 kilometers away from the mysterious beauty, Inan was carrying the unconscious Fourth Mother on her back, gritting her teeth as she ran in the dark. She only had one thought in her mind. That was to hold on for 1 more minute, because she knew that if she held on, she would be saved when Yu Yang caught up. Yu Yang would definitely rush over as fast as he could. He definitely would. The Xia Empire's experts would definitely rush over. As long as she held on for a little longer, she would definitely be saved. Inan had already bitten her lower lip until it bled, but she didn't feel any pain at all. She carried Fourth Mother on her back and continued to run forward, trying her best to escape from the strong enemies behind her. It was completely dark in front of her. She didn't know what was waiting for her in front of her, but she had no choice but to move forward. Move forward, hold on, and win. When Yu Yang came out of the underground river, he realized that Princess Sisai was shouting angrily. She didn't know how many times she wanted to kill the enemies with her sword, but she failed because of the buoyancy of the water. The enemies had made use of a deep lake and made use of the geographical advantage to counteract her huge attack power. Yu Yang, come quickly. Fourth Mother has already been saved by us. But this place is like the abandoned corridor. There's some kind of ceiling power. We can't use teleportation scrolls. Fourth Mother is still in front. The enemies are chasing after Inan. We have to rush in and save her as soon as possible. These people are not only from the Thousand Goblins sect, There's also a large group of experts from the evil sex. They want to use Fourth Mother as a sacrifice to open the heaven stairway. We have to hurry. Inan is injured. She might not be able to hold on for long. City Mistress Fallen Flowers was unable to use her full strength here, so she was anxious. When she saw Yu Yang rushing out, she rushed over in surprise and quickly explained the current critical situation to him. Stop talking nonsense. Come and help. Princess Sisai also felt relieved when Yu Yang arrived. That's great. This brat finally arrived. Chapter 190. Yu Yang took out his Hui Jin magic blade and flew up to help Princess Sisai. Although he had just battled with Tu Cheng and his entire body was sore, he was still unable to use his innate strength. However, the spherical beheader with twin fish rotation and the Yang ability with fire ability could unleash a greater power in his hands. Especially after being tempered by Nirvana's flame, the fire energy of his Yang ability was purer and more abundant. When Yu Yang lifted up his Hui Jin magic blade, the purple flames immediately turned into a flaming blade that seemed to have a substance. It slashed towards a diabolical expert riding a gold tiger shark in the lake. That person saw that the situation was bad. Substance blade? This was not someone to be trifled with. He hurriedly rode on the gold tiger shark and dove into the water. If it was any other time, Yu Yang would definitely plan and act later. However, it was too late now. He immediately summoned Little One Li and signaled her to attack the enemy in the lake. Yu Yang didn't care too much. He grabbed Princess Sisai and threw her into the lake. He then hugged City Mistress Fallen Flowers, who wasn't very good at swimming, and jumped into the lake. He didn't want to delay for even a second. He prepared to bring the two girls and rushed to save Fourth Mother. As for these diabolical experts who were good at fighting in water, he would let Little One Li deal with them. City Mistress Fallen Flowers screamed. She didn't think that Yu Yang would use such a barbaric method to rush over. The enemy hadn't been dealt with yet. The three of them combined might not even be a tenth of the others. Could they really rush over? Then, the stone element Medusa and storm mermaid summoned by Little One Li were even faster than Yu Yang. Their battle power underwater was many times stronger than on land. The stone element Medusa and storm mermaid's figures flashed and had already entered the lake. They were ahead of Yu Yang, Princess Sisai, and City Mistress Fallen Flowers. Even Little One Li, who was the last to enter the water, was much faster than Yu Yang. When it came to water battles, the stone element Medusa and the storm mermaid were definitely the masters. As soon as the storm mermaid entered the water, she immediately blew the storm horn. The entire lake seemed to be stirred by an invisible hand, and a huge whirlpool sucked in everything. Only the stone element Medusa was an exception. She held on to Princess Sisai with one hand and Yu Yang, who was holding on as City Lord Fallen Flowers with the other. Then, they quickly dove into a passage at the bottom of the water. The golden tiger shark tore through the waves and opened its bloody mouth, revealing its densely packed teeth. It was extremely terrifying. The stone element Medusa turned around and glared at the golden tiger shark. He let go of Yu Yang and Princess Sisai. She quickly knocked her bow and aimed at the enemy. That golden tiger shark was so frightened that it immediately turned around and swam away, leaping out of the water with all its might. It was as if it had seen its natural nemesis and was incomparably terrified. Another golden swordfish and a golden octopus were wandering around the periphery, not daring to approach. As for those three demonic experts, they were still resisting the whirlpool that was getting stronger and stronger. They could barely stabilize their bodies, but they were unable to move smoothly. Their subordinates who were experts in water battles, dozens of men who were lying in ambush, were all sucked into the whirlpool. No one could escape the suction force of the whirlpool. The golden tiger shark that had leaped out of the water to avoid the stone element Medusa's attack was unable to return to the surface of the lake in time. Suddenly, the sky rumbled and a bolt of lightning struck its body. The golden tiger shark saw a terrifying image. There was a terrifying creature that was floating gracefully on the surface of the lake. It was summoning lightning, striking down on all the beasts that floated out of the lake. Heavens, it's the Thunder Naga. The three demonic experts floated out of the water. When they saw the stone element Medusa and the storm mermaid enter the water, they knew that this battle was not going to be good. These two creatures were underwater killing machines. The stone element Medusa could turn all living creatures into stone and sink them into the abyss. The storm mermaids were mostly delicate, but there was one exception, and that was the storm mermaid. The delicate storm mermaid could overturn rivers and seas. Forget about beasts like the tiger shark or the swordfish. Even huge beasts like the giant whale wouldn't dare to provoke it. However, what made the three people despair the most was the third terrifying creature that appeared later, the Thunder Naga. The stone element Medusa was rarely seen. They usually hid on small islands that were rarely visited by humans or in underground lakes. They would never come into contact with humans. The storm mermaids swam freely in the endless sea. They liked to play and be free and rarely attacked others. However, the Thunder Naga was different. They were born to kill in this world. Actually, no matter if it was the deep-sea Naga or the shallow-sea Naga, they were all killing machines at the bottom of the sea. They were all super battle maniacs. Once they set their eyes on a target, they would chase them relentlessly. If one were to ask what was the most terrifying creature in the sea, there would only be one answer, and that was the Naga. If one were to ask what was the most terrifying Naga, there would only be one answer. That was the Thunder Naga. The chances of a Thunder Naga being born was only 1 in 10 million compared to a normal Naga. Furthermore, once it was born, it would at least be a gold king or even a holy beast. The Thunder Naga could easily summon lightning. No matter if it was underwater or on the surface of the water, it could use lightning to slaughter its opponents. They were not creatures from the soaring dragon continent. 10,000 years ago, the ancients had brought them from Tong Tian Tower and the demon abyss back to the ocean of the soaring dragon continent. However, even if it was a small number of Naga clans, they were still the strongest overlords of the ocean. It was common to see the king cuttlefish and the man-eating shark king being killed by the Thunder Naga, their charred corpses floating on the surface of the sea. The Thunder Naga that the ancients had brought back from Tong Tian Tower and the demon abyss were only gold king beasts. However, the Thunder Naga that appeared in this small lake was a diamond-ranked one. Furthermore, she was holding a legendary treasure called the Thunder Orb in her hands. On top of the rock, dark clouds covered the sky. Thunder and lightning were summoned by the Thunder Naga, accurately bombarding the creatures floating on the surface of the lake. Those who were hit died immediately. Not a single one was spared. The three evil path experts desperately escaped to the shore, escaping from the surface of the lake. If they stayed any longer, they would either be turned into stone men by the stone element Medusa and sink to the bottom of the lake, or be minced into pieces by the whirlpools of the storm mermaid. What was even more terrifying was that the lightning that fell from the sky would definitely turn them into charred corpses if they were hit by it. The golden octopus was hit by the arrow, its tentacles petrified, under the tearing of the big and small whirlpools released by the storm mermaid. Its tentacles broke into pieces, leaving only its bald head. It still wanted to escape by spitting out water, but it was sliced in half by little one Li. It spat out a large ball of ink, trying to hide its body. The golden beast that had unknowingly fallen off from Yu Yang's wrist and returned to its original form completely ignored the ink and drilled out of its wound, tyrannically plundering the magic crystal in the golden octopus's skull. The other golden swordfish was extremely fast. It had already escaped to the shore. Its owner anxiously wanted to recall it and keep it into the summoning crystal. A golden arrow shot out from the water and nailed the golden swordfish's tail. Following that, the Thunder Naga's lightning struck the golden swordfish's body. Another small tornado, like a water dragon, sucked the golden swordfish's slender body into the air and suddenly disappeared. With a bang, it fell heavily in front of the golden swordfish's owner. Half of its petrified tail was instantly shattered. Before that evil expert could even cry out in grief, little Winley shot out from the water and waved her twin blades, easily cutting the struggling golden swordfish into 3 pieces. No, the golden swordfish's owner, that evil expert, saw his most beloved beast die in front of him and cried out in grief. Let's go quickly. Now is not the time to be sad. It's more important to stay alive. His companions, the other two evil experts, pulled him away with all their might and rushed into the underground river. With a speed that they had never experienced in their entire lives, they fled in panic. In the lake, the heavily injured golden tiger shark watched in despair as its owner abandoned it and fled. Facing the Thundernaga's thunderball, the stone element Medusa's golden arrow, the storm mermaid's water dragon, and the slowly swimming little one Li, it suddenly made a very smart move. First, it betrayed them, then it surrendered. It flipped its belly and floated on the water, not resisting at all, hoping that the other party would spare its life on account of its surrender. Gold-ranked and above beasts usually had intelligence that normal beasts didn't have. It was not strange for them to betray their masters when they were defeated. Bronze-ranked and normal-ranked beasts could also betray their masters, but they usually didn't have enough intelligence. Once they were defeated, they would only run away in panic. They might not know how to surrender to their enemies. Towards its surrender, little one Li raised the twin blades in her hands a few times, then put them down in the end. She didn't seem to like gold-ranked beasts like the golden tiger shark. In her eyes, the golden tiger shark was a useless trash beast. As the golden tiger shark trembled, little one Li tilted her head and thought for a while. Suddenly, she took out a summoning crystal, but she didn't contract it herself. Instead, she passed it to the stone element Medusa. The stone element Medusa also hesitated for a while. Finally, under little one Li's urging, she stretched out her hand to draw a contract rune on top of the golden tiger shark's head. After trying twice, she couldn't contract it. The stone element Medusa immediately raised her golden bow and prepared to shoot the golden tiger shark to death with one arrow. In the end, under little one Li's persuasion and help, the contract was finally successful on the third try. The golden tiger shark was so scared that it trembled nonstop. When the contract was successful, its huge body turned into a ball of golden light and flew into the summoning crystal. When the stone element Medusa summoned it again, the golden tiger shark disregarded its heavy injuries and immediately displayed its most loyal performance, asking for praise from its master. It turned its spear and started to slaughter the beasts in the whirlpool in the lake. However, the stone element Medusa didn't even look at it. She followed behind little one Li and chased after her master. "You yawn. Die, little whore. Try and stop me again." The winged girl and the wolf-clawed man surrounded the mysterious beauty. If it wasn't for the fact that she had just gone through a huge battle and her body had not recovered yet, causing her battle power to be greatly reduced, the mysterious beauty wouldn't be in such a sorry state. She gritted her teeth and defended against the attacks of the two strong enemies with all her might. She turned a deaf ear to the filthy words of the two people. As long as the two of them passed through her obstruction, she would immediately use light wind teleportation and appear in front of them again. The enemy's craziness was completely blocked by the protective shield that she summoned in an instant. In short, before she collapsed, she would definitely not let the two of them pass through to chase after Anan. Anan's strength was not enough, and she was also heavily injured. She even carried Fourth Mother and escaped. If the two of them caught up to her, she would definitely be killed instantly. It's about time. Go and chase after the two women. I'll take care of this woman. I'll summon the black smoke, and you'll sneak over in the dark. I don't believe that I can't take down a little girl." The wolf-clawed man stuck out his long tongue and licked his red lips with an obscene look in his eyes. He felt that the opponent was already at her limit. If they continued to fight, they would probably be touched by his jealous companion. He felt that it would be a waste if he didn't enjoy such a beautiful woman. Hence, he suggested not to attack the opponent directly, but to summon the black smoke and make the whole tunnel filled with thick smoke. His companion would go and snatch the woman while he stayed here to enjoy himself. "This girl is too spicy. Be careful not to let her kick your eggs, idiot." The winged woman laughed coldly. She did not object. In her heart, what her companion did was not important. The most important thing was to snatch the woman who could open the heaven stairway. As long as the heaven stairway was opened, she, her sister, by and the other two could enter the heaven stairway together with the 1,000 Goblin sect leader and use a secret technique to awaken the 1,000 Goblin King. The sect leader had said that as long as the 1,000 Goblin King was resurrected, the whole soaring dragon continent would tremble. The wolf-clawed man retreated 2 steps and took out a crystal. He didn't have time to summon it. A blade light flew towards him at a speed faster than lightning. Its target was his right hand. Who is it? The wolf-clawed man dodged the blade light and shouted. A fist had already landed on his face. At the same time, an angry voice exploded in his ears. Go down and ask the king of hell. Yuyang took the lead and rushed over, suppressing the wolf-claw man as he furiously attacked him. Although he couldn't use his innate strength now, he was stronger than the wolf-clawed man, who was a level 7 overlord. In addition to his anger, he beat the wolf-clawed man with all his might. The wolf-clawed man couldn't even break free. He could only endure the pain and defend himself with his claws. At first, the two of them were evenly matched. Yuyang was riding on the wolf-clawed man and had a slight advantage. However, the wolf-clawed man had sharp claws and was able to recover quite a bit. However, Yuyang's ability to defend himself was more than 10 times stronger than the wolf-clawed man. Yuyang's skin was scratched by the wolf-clawed man, but it didn't penetrate deep. It was just a superficial wound. On the contrary, his raging fists were filled with inner strength. His innate chi exploded and seeped into his bones. The wolf-clawed man screamed in pain. His counterattack slowed down. The two of them were evenly matched, but became 4 to 6, 3 to 7, 2 to 8. In the end, the wolf-clawed man was beaten by Yuyang until he bled from all his orifices. He struggled with all his might, but he couldn't escape. The flirtatious woman with wings on her back wanted to rush over to help. However, the mysterious beauty used her last bit of strength to raise a protective shield and blocked in front of Yuyang. Princess Sisai was just a little slower. Her giant sword slashed through the air and fought against the flirtatious woman with wings on her back. You want to kill my 4th mother? Go and die. Go and die. Yuyang's fist became heavier and heavier. The wolf-clawed man's blood splattered and his teeth flew everywhere. One of his eyes was also blasted by Yuyang. Before the wolf-clawed man died, he exploded with a huge force and sent Yuyang flying. He wanted to escape for his life. Little Wenli appeared in front of him in a flash. She stretched out her hand and used her binding chain's inherent skill to immediately freeze him. The stone element Medusa's golden arrow pierced through the wolf-clawed man's leg. The Thunder Naga's lightning struck down. Little Wenli chopped off the wolf-clawed man's arms. The Storm Mermaid released a whirlwind and blew the wolf-clawed man into the air. Yuyang, who was pouncing down from the sky, grabbed the wolf-clawed man's head tightly with both hands and twisted it. With a cracking sound, the wolf-clawed man, who was unable to resist after suffering a series of attacks, finally had his neck broken by Yuyang. Killed 1. The wolf-clawed man's entire body fell limply onto the ground. His only remaining eye was bulging out like a dead fish. He died with everlasting regret, seeing that the enemy's reinforcements had arrived, as well as Yuyang's murderous demon-like enemy. The flirtatious woman immediately panicked and tried to escape. She flapped her wings and flew towards the tunnel that Yuyang had come from. Princess Sisai, the mysterious beauty, and Yuyang all blocked her from the other side, as if they were afraid that she would chase after Anan. The flirtatious woman was overjoyed. She felt that her life was more important now, so she wasn't in a hurry to snatch Yuyang away. When she flew 100 meters away, she thought that she had escaped from the enemy's encirclement. Suddenly, a terrifying aurora appeared in front of her. It was City Mistress Fallen Flowers. Her aurora had to be stored for a long time. However, once it was released, no matter how strong the enemy was, they wouldn't be able to withstand the destructive power of the aurora. The flirtatious woman didn't have her grimoire's protective shield. She flew backwards in fear, but her flying speed was just a joke in front of the aurora. The aurora shot out. 10 seconds later, The flirtatious woman crawled out from the rubble, her whole body burnt black in pain. She wasn't dead yet, but the pair of wings that her beast brought were completely burnt. Even with the protection of a level 7 overlord, her body was covered with cuts and bruises. Princess Sisai raised her sword. When the flirtatious woman saw it, she cried out in fear, "Spare me! Spare me!" Yu Yang pushed away the hesitant Princess Qian Qian with one hand and grabbed the Yaoji's woman. He coldly and mercilessly snorted, "Those who dare to harm my loved ones, regardless of gender or status, will be killed without mercy." The flirtatious woman waved her claws in despair, stabbing towards Yu Yang's eyes. She wanted to fight to the death. "Kill!" Yu Yang shouted and threw the flirtatious woman onto the ground with a shoulder throw. Without waiting for her to struggle, he stepped heavily on her spine. Both of his hands grabbed her head and twisted it, clean and direct. He wouldn't be soft-hearted just because the flirtatious woman was a woman. Instead, he twisted her neck and killed her like the man with the wolf claws. Originally, Yu Yang wanted to dismember this adulterous couple into thousands of pieces. However, after thinking that it would be good to nurture the thorny flower, he decided to twist her neck in the end. Isn't it better to capture her and interrogate her? Princess Sisai didn't think that killing a woman was wrong, but she didn't want Yu Yang to become an irrational murderer. Capturing her and handing her over to the interrogators for interrogation before beheading her would be better. Of course, that would be more troublesome, because the most important thing right now was to save Fourth Mother. If they captured her, they would at least have to leave someone to watch over her. Even if you don't want to kill her, she has already been killed. What's the point of thinking so much? Leaving her alive is just a disaster. Let's hurry and save Fourth Mother. She and Anan are both heavily injured. The mysterious beauty nudged Princess Sisai and used her last, light wind teleportation to teleport Yu Yang 100 meters away, letting him save Fourth Mother first. By the time Yu Yang found Anan, who was carrying Fourth Mother, 10 minutes had already passed. Anan and Fourth Mother were both hiding in the crevice of the rocks. Fortunately, Little One Li could sense their presence. Otherwise, the anxious Yu Yang wouldn't be able to calm his heart and sense their presence. One of Anan's ribs was broken. She was hit by a flying hammer thrown by someone in the midst of the chaos. Originally, her injuries weren't too serious, but she didn't receive treatment. She had to exhaust her stamina to carry Fourth Mother while escaping, which aggravated her injuries. Yu Yang gently caressed Anan's hair that was wet with sweat. He helped her put the headscarf back on and gently placed it on the ground. Fourth Mother's heartbeat and breathing were almost non-existent. However, Yu Yang wasn't worried at all, because he had seen City Mistress Fallen Flowers' fake death before. He knew that this was a type of self-protection secret technique. When Princess Sisai, City Mistress Fallen Flowers, and the mysterious beauty rushed over, they cried out in fear, "Idiot! It's not fake death. Your Fourth Mother doesn't have any contracted beasts. She wouldn't know how to fake death. Furthermore, this isn't even." When Yang heard this, he felt that it was really a bolt from the blue. His heart immediately jumped wildly. What should we do? Quickly use that method of yours to save her. Use that CPR. Quickly save her. The three girls cried out anxiously. They were so scared that they started to cry. They hurriedly placed Fourth Mother on the ground and started to tear off Fourth Mother's clothes, just like how Yu Yang saved City Mistress Fallen Flowers previously. Are you serious? Get out of the way. Yu Yang's hands were also trembling. Wasn't this fake death? Fourth Mother really didn't have a heartbeat. Heavens, he thought she was fine just now? Yu Yang felt even more guilty when he thought about it. He pushed aside City Mistress Fallen Flowers, who was in a fluster and didn't know what to do, and bent down. In this urgent situation, Yu Yang looked at Fourth Mother and his heart trembled again. Did he really have to do CPR? She was Fourth Mother. Furthermore, the other girls were watching from the side. This was really... He could not save her. Time waits for no man. If he continued to hesitate, Fourth Mother might die without being saved. Chapter 191. After opening the lower jaw and checking that there was no foreign body in the oral cavity, Yu Yang prepared to bend down and breathe. With a thought, Yu Yang stopped and looked at Princess Sisai, City Mistress Fallen Flowers, and the others. He pulled Princess Sisai's hand. You do it. I don't know how to do it. Princess Sisai was so scared that she shook her hands. It's very simple. Pinch your nose, cover your lips with your mouth, and breathe in. First, take a big breath. Try to inhale as much air as you can, then breathe in. After 2 breaths, fallen flowers, start pressing your chest outwards. Put your palms together. Don't use too much force. Don't break your ribs. The ratio of exhalation to chest pressure is 2:30. What are you guys waiting for? Yu Yang realized that he only had one theory. Speaking of saving people, if he didn't count the time he saved City Mistress Fallen Flowers, he had never really tried to save people. I don't know how to do it either. City Mistress Fallen Flowers bent down in panic, but her hands were trembling violently, showing the panic in her heart. Idiot, do it yourself. If you don't save them, how do you expect them to save them? This is saving lives. What do you think it is? Idiot, let me do it. The mysterious beauty saw that everyone was at a loss, so she took the initiative to press Fourth Mother's heart. Princess Sisai also quickly bent down, but she couldn't grasp the essentials and couldn't breathe in air. Yu Yang saw that he couldn't do it, so he had to do it himself. This was saving people. He had to save Fourth Mother. Don't think about other things. Now was not the time to think about those messy things. He took off the mysterious beauty's veil and placed it on Fourth Mother's lips, then bent down and breathed in to save people. Yu Yang had seen this method on television before. To prevent foreign objects or saliva from entering the dying person's lungs, he had to use a layer of tissue or thin gauze to separate them. Of course, there might not be such conditions at the scene of the rescue, so there was no hard and fast rule. Yu Yang didn't look at the mysterious beauty's face and bent down to blow 2 breaths. After the mysterious beauty breathed out, she immediately cooperated with the massage. Her strength was very light, as she was afraid that she would break Fourth Mother's ribs. Yu Yang kept reminding her to press a little slower, but she had to use a little more strength. Princess Sisai kept telling the mysterious beauty not to use too much strength. As for City Mistress Fallen Flowers, she was massaging Fourth Mother's hands while letting Yu Yang breathe again. Hurry up, Fourth Mother's hands are very cold. You guys hurry up. We can't go too fast. Everyone don't panic, and don't cry. You must continue with CPR. Yu Yang himself was burning with anxiety, but he knew that if he panicked now, everything would be over. He had to persist in the rescue. What other ways are there? The mysterious beauty realized that even after 2 rounds of CPR, the effect was still not great. She quickly asked Yu Yang to think of another way. Electric shock, stimulate the heart, and open the chest and massage the heart. Yu Yang knew many ways to save people, but he had never tried any of them. Thinking back to the time when he wanted to cut open City Mistress Fallen Flowers' chest with a knife to massage her heart, Yu Yang would still break out in cold sweat whenever he thought about it. That kind of method was very dangerous. He had never really learned how to save people and had never tried to massage the heart. Once the chest was cut open, he really didn't think about the consequences. Yu Yang was afraid that the electric shock would hurt Fourth Mother, so he quickly added, "Don't use the electric shock too much. Use your hands to release the electric shock. The contact area must be big, the contact time must be short, and a light electric shock. Let me think. Open the chest and massage the heart must be careful. If the wound is bleeding, then it means that there is still a heart. There must be no bleeding, then there will be no blood pressure, then the heart needs to be massaged. I actually have never tried it before." The mysterious beauty immediately rejected the electric shock. "My electric shock is used to kill enemies. It can't be used to save people. The Thunder Naga can't either. We are not healers." Princess Sisai couldn't stop stomping her feet. She was anxious to save people, but she couldn't help it all. Her heart was extremely anxious. After the 3rd round of rescue, Fourth Mother still had no reaction. Yu Yang made up his mind. If he hesitated now, Fourth Mother would die. If the brain didn't have enough oxygen for 10 minutes, it would cause irreversible damage. He definitely couldn't delay any longer. He took out the dragon-slaying dagger and prepared to open Fourth Mother's chest and use his hands to massage her heart. A small hand stretched out from behind, followed by little Wen Li's small body, squeezing in. Her small hand condensed a ball of gentle white light and gently placed it on Fourth Mother's body. Fourth Mother received the replenishment of this ball of white light. Her face immediately became rosy, but there was still no breathing or heartbeat. Little Wen Li stretched out her small hand and put it into Fourth Mother's clothes. Her entire body flashed with multicolored light, then gradually became illusory. That small hand seemed like it was going to fuse into Fourth Mother's body. After 10 seconds, Yu Yang and Princess Sisai could hear an extremely faint heartbeat. The mysterious beauty probed her nose and discovered that there was still no breathing, so she hurriedly asked Yu Yang to continue breathing. Yu Yang was surprised and happy, and hurriedly took 2 breaths. Little Wen Li's hand fused into Fourth Mother's body. She was continuously massaging Fourth Mother's heart until her heart started beating again. Only then did she slowly withdraw her small hand. Fourth Mother's body trembled slightly. Although her heartbeat was weak, it could already be clearly felt. Fourth Mother's breathing had also gradually turned from not being able to breathe at all. Gradually, it became as light as gossamer, then it became louder and louder, and gradually returned to normal. Her lips became rosy again, and the temperature of her hands and feet also slowly returned to normal. Yu Yang hugged little Wen Li tightly. He was incomparably grateful to this little darling. Luckily, she was here, and Fourth Mother was saved. Otherwise, with his own clumsy method, he didn't know what would happen. If he really cut open Fourth Mother's chest and massaged her heart, when her heartbeat and blood pressure recovered, what would happen if she lost a lot of blood? Yu Yang really didn't dare to imagine that kind of consequence. The 3 girls hugged each other excitedly, hugging each other tightly and cheering unceasingly. Only at this moment did their tears fall like pearls from a broken necklace. Of course, these were tears of joy. When Yu Yang put down the exhausted little Wen Li, the mysterious beauty had already put on her veil again. Even if Yu Yang couldn't be bothered to look at her face, he still saw a little of it just now. Although he didn't look at her carefully, now that he thought about it, he had a little impression. This mysterious beauty looked very similar to the beautiful principal. They were almost the same person. It was just that her complexion was much better than the sickly, beautiful principal. Other than the difference in hairstyle, Yu Yang couldn't tell the difference between the mysterious beauty and the beautiful principal. Could it be that they were sisters? But he had never heard that the beautiful principal had sisters. Of course, Yu Yang wouldn't directly ask the mysterious beauty now. He pretended that he didn't see her real face. Good darling, well done. Princess Sisai carried little Wen Li and kissed her twice. Yu Yang was a little embarrassed. He didn't think that this violent woman would actually like children. A blush appeared on little Wen Li's tired face. She struggled a little and left Princess Sisai's embrace. She turned into a ray of rainbow light and returned to Yu Yang's body, continuing to sleep. Yu Yang was afraid that the ground was cold, so he quickly carried Fourth Mother. After thinking for a while, he warned the 3 girls, "Don't ever mention this matter again. Just treat it as if it never happened." When Princess Sisai saw that Yu Yang was talking to her, she immediately protested loudly. "Why are you looking at me? I'm not a gossiper. Do you think I'll tell others? I hate this suspicious look of yours the most. Don't look at me anymore, or else I'll beat you up." She raised her little fist to protest against Yu Yang's suspicion. City Mistress Fallen Flowers hurriedly tried to smooth things over. "It's nothing. This is just saving people. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Saving people is a good thing." The mysterious beauty directly said to Yu Yang, "What nonsense are you thinking? Get rid of your evil thoughts." Yu Yang secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It was good that there was no misunderstanding, but he was afraid that the 3 girls would think too much. He used a belt to carry Fourth Mother's soft body on his back. On the other side, Princess Sisai also carefully carried An. The 4 of them looked at each other, feeling extremely tired. After a series of battles, first at the Cloud Peak Lake in the Despair Abyss, they fought a bloody battle with the demonic palace's rankers. Their bodies hadn't recovered yet, and they had to save Fourth Mother. Now that Fourth Mother was saved, the four of them felt extremely tired. Yu Yang even fought with Tu Cheng in the middle of the battle and unsealed his innate seal. His whole body was in pain. He carried Fourth Mother and walked in front. Princess Sisai carried Anan and followed tiredly. City Mistress Fallen Flowers and the mysterious Beauty supported each other and walked at the back. It took Yu Yang more than an hour to reach the place where he killed the flirtatious woman and the wolf-clawed man. Yu Yang put the two corpses in his lich ring. Although the three girls were curious why he did this, they didn't ask. This secret passage might be related to the Heaven Stairway. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a seal here. The mysterious Beauty speculated, if we have time in the future, we should come here again and check carefully. The Thousand Goblins' sex actions are very strange. We need to be more careful. Let's talk about it later. I'm exhausted now. I just want to rest. Princess Sisai quickened her steps and walked side by side with Yu Yang. Luckily, your brother Anan is not heavy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the strength to carry her out. Little liar, you don't tell me you like this kind of thing? The mysterious Beauty and City Mistress Fallen Flowers didn't say anything, but pricked up their ears to eavesdrop. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Yu Yang felt that all the bones in his body were falling apart. Fourth Mother was originally very light on his back, but now she felt as heavy as a mountain. How about I help you carry her for a while? City Mistress Fallen Flowers was the most understanding and took the initiative to share the burden with Yu Yang. No need. Yu Yang tried to show off and rejected. Letting two girls carry a person while he, a man, walked empty-handed. What was this? When they reached the passage at the bottom of the lake, Yu Yang couldn't hold on anymore. He untied Fourth Mother first. If he didn't rest for a while, he wouldn't have the strength to carry Fourth Mother out of the long passage at the bottom of the lake. Princess Sisai and City Mistress Fallen Flowers were also extremely tired. They slept even faster than Yu Yang when they sat down and leaned on each other. Only the mysterious Beauty sat vigilantly to prevent any unforeseen events. When Yu Yang went to look at her, the mysterious Beauty snorted softly, "Go to sleep." In his dreams, the voices and smiles of Princess Sisai, City Mistress Fallen Flowers, the mysterious Beauty, and Anan kept flashing past. Yu Yang felt that they were very mischievous. They were obviously by his side, but they had to hide and only appear occasionally. He wanted to catch them, but he couldn't. When he fell asleep again, Yu Yang realized that he had entered the dream realm. The big lowly, who had beaten him up N+1 times, was waiting for him in the dream realm. Yu Yang realized that the big lowly's cultivation was actually at the innate realm. However, his own innate realm was completely different. Her control technique was 100 times better than Yu Yang's. The power of an innate level 1 under her control was so exquisite that it made Yu Yang gasp in amazement. To think that using the innate invisible sword chi could also have such a control effect. If he knew this earlier, he wouldn't even need to use his berserk skill to beat Tu Cheng up. The big lowly didn't say anything, but her training had brought Yu Yang to a whole new realm, allowing him to have new understandings and understandings. If the innate realm was compared to a house, then Tu Cheng's innate level 2 strength was 2 floors of a building. After triple strengthening, Tu Cheng was actually close to innate level 3, which was equivalent to 2.5 floors. Yu Yang was originally innate level 1, but he didn't know how strong he was after berserk skill. He only remembered that he almost killed Tu Cheng in a second. Now, the big lowly used another realm to tell Yu Yang that although it was 1 floor, the number of floors did not represent one's true strength. If Tu Cheng's 2.5 floors were the standard height, then the big lowly's innate realm's 1 floor was equivalent to the Tiananmen Gate Tower. 1 floor was much higher than Tu Cheng's 2.5 floors. To be more accurate, the big lowly's innate realm's innate realm had surpassed Yu Yang's understanding. Her innate level 1 was broad and mysterious. Not only was it higher than Tu Cheng's innate level 2, it was more than 10 times higher. Her innate realm was incomparably rich magnificent and gorgeous. Yu Yang was also innate level 1. He felt that his innate level 1 was like a wooden bungalow, while the big lowly's innate level 1 was as tall and majestic as the Tiananmen Gate Tower. Although both of them were innate level 1, their aura, height, potential, and so on were completely different. After Yu Yang saw this, other than shock, he was also ecstatic. Now, he finally understood a little. The real innate level 1, that was such a wonderful realm. Previously, thinking of rushing to improve was the biggest mistake. On the contrary, he should build a good foundation on innate level 1. Yu Yang felt that if he could be like the big lowly's innate level 1 and build a good foundation, with such a realm as a foundation for growth, then even if he wanted to build a 10,000-meter tall building in the future, he would not have to worry. It was only now that Yu Yang truly understood the basics. What he needed was a better foundation. Without a foundation, he would be like Tu Cheng, stuck at innate level 2 or even higher. This was because the foundation determined his growth. With the foundation of a bungalow, he would definitely not be able to build a 10,000-meter tall building. When the big lowly saw that Yu Yang understood, she did not beat up Yu Yang like she usually did. On the contrary, she demonstrated to Yu Yang many techniques that he almost couldn't remember. She was very patient and repeatedly corrected his mistakes. Although she did not speak, she personally demonstrated and used the most direct body language to tell Yu Yang all kinds of mysteries of innate level 1. Yu Yang completely knew where he was lacking. His healing ability, telepathy, beast fusion, skill transformation, and so on. He realized that other than his battle skills, which were slightly better, he could not keep up in other areas. Even his beast manipulation skills were far inferior to the warriors of the soaring dragon continent. If it wasn't for Little One Li and the others who were extremely smart and knew how to fight on their own, he would not be able to command them. For example, the barbarian Cao Shadow's manipulation skills could be seen clearly. As for the golden beast, Yu Yang did not even know how to use it. He would let it attack by itself every time. I must build a good foundation. It's too important. Yu Yang sighed countless times in his heart. Now that he saw the big lowly's realm, it was like a country bumpkin entering a city and seeing tall buildings, cars, and planes. When he looked back at his own straw hut and ox cart, he felt extremely ashamed. When he woke up again, Yu Yang realized that he had actually returned to his home in Whitestone City. Fourth Mother was sitting in front of the table, feeding Little One Li and Little One Li. From time to time, she would even use a handkerchief to wipe their mouths. Yu Bing was lying on the bed. Perhaps she was exhausted. She was sleeping soundly. Why did I come back? Yu Yang remembered that he had clearly fallen asleep in the underground passage. How did he return home? Who carried him back? Hui Tai Lang, who was lying at the door and sticking out its tongue, was originally bored to death. However, when it saw that Yu Yang had woken up, it immediately became spirited and jumped up. It was incomparably happy and kept barking, as if it was the most loyal watchdog. Yu Yang sweated profusely. This Hui Tai Lang seemed to have mastered foreign languages quite well. If not for its appearance, anyone would think that it was a dog just by listening to its voice. Senna, you're awake? Fourth Mother turned her head to look. Her hands trembled, and she almost dropped the bowl. Brother Yu Yang, Yu Shuang, this little girl, immediately stood up from the chair and jumped onto Yu Yang's body, cheering. After Yu Bing woke up, she did not make a sound. She only hugged Yu Yang tightly, tears rolling down her face. I said that this brat wouldn't die. Look, Yu, he's awake now. Princess Sisai and her cousin Yu rushed in from the door when they heard the commotion, their faces filled with surprise. Behind them were Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the Li clan brothers who were stuck at the door, unable to get in or out. They were anxious and rushed in together, but who knew that they would be stuck? Someone kicked their butts, causing Fatty Hai and the others to fall to the ground. Following that, someone stepped on them and walked in. It was the old cunning fox. The old cunning fox laughed complacently, as if Yu Yang owed him 30,000 gold coins and promised to pay him back today. He waited for Yu Yang to finish comforting the girls who were crying and laughing in the room before grabbing onto Yu Yang's shoulders and whispering to Yu Yang, "Brat, you're finished this time." He Beg me, otherwise I won't help you. You must beg me sincerely. Yu Yang was confused. It's over? He was fine. What did he mean by finished? Could it be that Princess Sisai had accidentally told others about using CPR to save Fourth Mother? But it was still saving someone. He really had no other choice at that time. Looking at Fourth Mother, who was happily wiping her tears, Yu Yang felt relieved. If Fourth Mother knew about this, she would definitely be embarrassed. Since she was fine, it proved that Princess Sisai didn't tell anyone. Furthermore, she wasn't a blabbermouth person. She was just a little violent and liked to glare at people with her tiger-like eyes. Student Titan, you also know that lying to people is wrong. Lying to girls is even more wrong. Now that you've lied to two girls, their parents have come to your door to ask for an explanation. What do you think you should do? Previously, you said that you were unconscious and wouldn't wake up, but now that you're awake, you can't hide even if you want to. I think you're going to choke. The old cunning fox used the tone of a savior as he lightly patted Yu Yang's shoulder and tempted him. If you sincerely beg me now, I'll think about it and see if I can help you. If you're still the same as before and even dare to lie to me, then don't blame me for not helping you. Hee, you better think clearly. What nonsense are you talking about? Why would an honest and good child like me lie to others? Yu Yang's words caused the old cunning fox to immediately fall to the ground. You dare to say that you didn't lie to me? The old cunning fox grabbed Yu Yang's collar. I didn't. Even if I did lie to others, you were the one who taught me. You're the teacher, and I'm the student. As the saying goes, not being strict is the teacher's fault. Yu Yang said confidently. You win. The old cunning fox gave Yu Yang a thumbs up. Let's see how you're going to deal with her parents later. I won't steal or rob. What's there to be afraid of? Yu Yang tried his best to encourage himself. But you've kidnapped someone else's daughter. The little girl's parents are waiting in the hall outside. The old cunning fox's expression was as if he was waiting to see what Yu Yang would do, taking joy in his misfortune. What are you two whispering about? Since you're fine, I'll leave first. All right, forget about the palace that you've destroyed. It's not my place to stay anyway. However, you've destroyed my magic cloud phoenix patterned white jade bottle, which is worth more than 1,600 gold coins. When you're free, settle this debt for me. Princess Sisai, who possessed the 6 records inherent skill, had actually heard the conversation between Yu Yang and the old cunning fox, but she pretended not to hear it. Instead, she gave Yu Yang a slip of paper with the bill written on it. On it was written, Yu Yang owes Princess Sisai 1,600 gold coins. Her intention was for Yu Yang to sign his name on it. Nonsense. Yu Yang took it and tore it apart. He then said to the startled Princess Sisai, "What's the relationship between the two of us? A broken bottle and an evil stench of money can't possibly taint our pure friendship. Who is a pure friendship with you?" Princess Sisai was furious. You don't. All right then, send the guest off. Yu Yang waved his hands and pushed Princess Sisai out of the door. His cousin Yu Yu laughed secretly and tried to persuade Princess Sisai to go out. Princess Sisai really wanted to bite him to death, but because there were many people in the house, she could only pretend to be a virtuous lady and bid farewell to Fourth Mother. Fourth Mother also brought Yu Shuang to the front hall to announce the good news. It seemed that there was really someone waiting in front. Little Wenli turned into a rainbow light and disappeared. As for Hui Tai Lang, it rubbed against Yu Yang's leg for a while. Realizing that Yu Yang didn't have time to care about it, it ran out and continued to bask in the sun and doze off. When Yu Yang saw that Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the others were covered with cuts and bruises, he asked curiously, "What kind of demonic training did you guys go through? How did you guys end up like this?" Who knew that when Yi Kong opened his mouth, Yu Yang would start sweating profusely, because Yi Kong said, "Of course not. Demonic training is a small matter. We were attacking the Starved Dog Ridge and fought against the disciples of the Thousand Goblins sect. That's why we ended up like this. We almost died. Luckily, we were saved. Sigh. Only now did I realize that I am really weak." Fatty Hai, on the other hand, boasted proudly. "Although I didn't manage to save anyone, I defeated 2 level 4 heroes and a level 5 grandmaster. My achievements are glorious. TSK, TSK, TSK. Didn't you hear? 2 days ago, I was singled out and praised by the school. Those who looked down on me were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They didn't know that I was born into this world to defeat the disciples of the Thousand Goblins sect. It's really lonely to be an expert. Yi Kong and the Li brothers moved further away from him, letting him boast about himself. Yu Bing didn't make a sound. She was secretly happy. 2 days ago? How did I come back? I've been back for 2 days? Yu Yang frowned. Could it be that he had been lying on the bed for 2 days? I think Princess Sisai carried you back. We're not too sure, but you've been back for more than 2 days. You've been unconscious for 10 days. Right now, it should be the 11th day. When Yi Kong said this, Yu Yang sweated profusely again. He had spent 11 days dreaming? What's going on outside? Yu Yang sensed that there seemed to be a lot of warriors talking in the hall outside. Sister Anan's aunt is here. So Sister Anan is a sister, not a brother. Yu Bing felt that it was time to tell the truth to Yu Yang. She didn't know that Yu Yang could see through her on the first day. She still thought that her stupid brother couldn't tell if Yu Yang was a man or a woman because he had been a hermit for too long. I can't be? Anan is a girl? Yu Yang wanted to pretend to be surprised, but he felt that he couldn't be too surprised. Otherwise, Yu Bing would laugh so hard that she couldn't breathe. You idiot, you've wasted such a good opportunity to pick up girls. It's too late now. I want to kill myself. Fatty High's face was full of tears. He kept banging his head against the wall, looking as if he wanted to kill himself, and nobody could stop him. Chapter 192. The Outer Hall. Yu Yang, Yu Bing, Yi Kong, Fatty High, and the Li brothers walked out of the outer hall. Usually, they, the younger generation, did not have the qualifications to sit together and discuss matters with the elders. Now that Anan's parents wanted to see Yu Yang, he had no choice but to hide in the inner courtyard. When Yu Yang saw that Princess Sisai and his cousin Yu Yu were also there, he could not help but sweat a little. With Princess Sisai, the Rouge Tigress present, it would be inconvenient for him to say many things. It seemed that Princess Sisai had purposely stayed behind to cause trouble and watch him make a fool of himself. This Rouge Tigress had no choice but to teach her a lesson. Yu Yang's mind flashed with the images of Princess Sisai that day. He tried his best to imagine how to push this girl down. Of course, on the surface, he pretended to be an obedient child. Fourth Mother was whispering to a beautiful woman with a veiled face. Yu Yang's hearing had improved greatly, so he could hear that the two of them were talking in a language that he had never heard before, but he couldn't understand what they were talking about. The little girl snuggled in Fourth Mother's embrace and ate desserts. Her mouth was a mess, but when she saw Yu Yang, she immediately jumped down and threw herself into his arms. She had already eaten the brown sugar rice cake in her hands, but she still wanted to stuff half of it into her brother's mouth. As for her sister Yu Bing, she only raised it up and pretended to give it to her. Without waiting for Yu Bing to react, she proudly took it back and tried her best to covet her sister, refusing to give it to her. Yu Bing glared at her snappily and reached out her hand to pinch the little girl's mischievous nose. The little girl giggled as she dodged it. Her laughter was as clear as a bell, and she immediately ran away. Running around the house, the two sisters, one chasing and the other running, made Yu Yang secretly sigh. This warm little house had returned to its former liveliness and happiness. In the house, other than Princess Sisai, his cousin Yu Yu, Fourth Mother, and the beautiful masked woman, there was also the old cunning fox and the eagle-eyed Xiao Wei Lai. Fatty Hai was originally very cocky. The moment he saw the eagle-eyed man, he immediately turned into a tortoise, his head almost retracting into his neck. It seemed like the training he endured under the hands of the eagle-eyed man, Xiao Wei Lai, had left a shadow in his heart. Yi Kong and the Li clan brothers hurriedly greeted the old cunning fox, the art principal, and teacher Xiao Ho. They then pretended to be polite and obedient children and greeted Fourth Mother and the others one after another. In the end, they squeezed into a corner of the room. Yi Yang already knew that he couldn't count on them to help. Now, it seemed that their value in existence was only limited to watching. When Fourth Mother saw Yu Yang enter, She waved her hand, gesturing for Yu Yang to come over. She then introduced to him, Santa, this is the aunt of your brother, Anan. Actually, Anan is a girl. You, this child, are always hiding at home. You can't even differentiate between a man and a woman. If this were to spread, you would really become a joke. I feel that there is something wrong with Anan. Which guy doesn't like beauties? Just like Master Hai, he would drool whenever he sees a beauty. So it turns out that Anan is actually a girl. Yu Yang knew that he couldn't pretend to be too surprised, especially since Yu Bing had already said it once. If he still pretended to be surprised, then he would be lying. The best thing to do now was to pretend to be stupid, but not to the extent of being stupid. As long as the elders had a way to step down, it would be fine. What are you saying? Hurry up and greet Ananan. Fourth Mother immediately scolded Yu Yang when she heard this. How could he be so impolite when he saw an elder? Yes. Ananan, please have some tea. Yu Yang's ability to pretend to be a good child was even better than his battle skills. He lifted the teapot and poured tea for the masked beauty. He then personally lifted the teacup and passed it to Fourth Mother. Fourth Mother knew that this brat wasn't usually so attentive, but seeing him being so obedient in front of outsiders and even serving tea to her, she felt a sweetness in her heart. She quickly received the teacup and softly instructed him to serve tea to the old cunning fox and the eagle-eyed Xia Hui Lai. The old cunning fox was actually quite arrogant. He calmly accepted the tea that Yu Yang had served. As for Xia Hui Lai, he seemed to know that Yu Yang was an innate. Although Yu Yang was a student in name, he immediately stood up and held the teacup before receiving the tea that Yu Yang had poured for him. Although his expression didn't change, his eagle-eyed eyes were filled with pride. An innate rancor personally poured tea for him. This was the first time in his life. If it was someone else, it would be impossible for them to receive such treatment. When Yu Yang returned to Fourth Mother's side and sat down, Aunt Nan opened her mouth. She had been sizing up Yu Yang the whole time. The more she looked, the happier she was. Although she didn't show it on her face, she secretly felt that Anan had good taste. Your Fourth Mother, your biological mother, and I were all born in the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers. Although we are from different clans, we can still be considered as sisters with different surnames. In terms of age, I am slightly older than your Fourth Mother. You can call me Second Aunt in the future, or you can call me Aunt like Anan. Anan can be considered as your distant cousin. When Aunt Anan said this, Yu Yang suddenly realized that Fourth Mother was also from the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers. No wonder she and Aunt Anan could speak the same language. The language that they spoke just now didn't sound like the language of the soaring dragon continent. Yu Yang had never heard of it before. Looks like Fourth Mother and the pitiful guy's biological mother were really mysterious. Otherwise, the people from the Thousand Goblins sect wouldn't attack Fourth Mother for no reason and capture her to open the Heaven Stairway. What kind of place was the Heaven Stairway? Could it be another Tong Tian Tower? Or a different dimension like the Demon Abyss? Yu Yang felt that although the soaring dragon continent looked ordinary on the surface, it actually contained many mysteries. For example, there were so many innate rancors. Why did they have to train their juniors in the soaring dragon continent? Why didn't they bring the outstanding juniors into the Tong Tian Tower? Instead, they brought out the beasts from the Tong Tian Tower and released them on the soaring dragon continent to train their juniors. There were also God's Ruins, Heaven's Stairway, Falling King Mountain, Demonic Palace, Thousand Goblin Sect for Great Sects, and so on. All of them were mysteries among mysteries. Now, even this Valley of Butterflies and Flowers seemed to be a complicated place. Because Yu Yang used his level 3 Divine Vision and realized that he couldn't completely see through Ananan. This masked, beautiful woman should be as powerful as the old fox. Above her, there was still the Valley Master of Butterflies and Flowers. As for the pitiful guy's mother, no one had mentioned her before. Yu Yang felt that she was definitely not an ordinary person. The current Valley of Butterflies and Flowers is not the same as it was in the past. It has already declined and declined. Your birth mother passed away early. The sect of butterflies was originally passed down by only one person. Now, there is no successor. Now that we have found Fourth Mother in you two, it is really fate. As for the sect of Butterflies and Flowers, Although they are not as single as the sect of butterflies, they do not have enough people. During the chaos a few years ago, our country was destroyed by the demonic palace and the Thousand Goblins sect. The outer valley of butterflies was attacked by the enemy and burned to ashes. We had no place to stand. That's why Anan hid her identity and disguised herself as a bandit. She met you and traveled together with you. It must be fate. When Anan said this, Yu Yang's heart trembled slightly. Finally, someone mentioned information about the pitiful guy's birth mother. From Aunt Anan's tone, the pitiful guy's birth mother was the successor of the sect of butterflies? What made Yu Yang even more surprised was that the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers used to manage a country. Under the joint attack of the demonic palace and the Thousand Goblins sect, the country was destroyed in the end. This was not simple either. Both the demonic palace and the Thousand Goblins sect were powerful hidden organizations, especially the demonic palace. Even to Xia, Tianluo, and Zijin, the three great kingdoms, did not dare to look down on them. The Valley of Butterflies and Flowers was able to fight against both the demonic palace and the Thousand Goblins sect at the same time. Thinking about it, it was actually very powerful. What was the original country called? Yu Yang was really curious. Every 100 years, many countries in the soaring dragon continent would be destroyed. However, he did not know which country was so powerful that they could fight against the demonic palace and the Thousand Goblins sect. Our country was originally called Dawnlight. The outside world generally calls us Guangguang or Ming. Anan's aunt seemed to be unwilling to talk about it. What? Yang almost jumped up in shock. This Guangguang or Ming country, Yang also knew about it. The original Ming country was very big. It was one of the top 5 countries in the soaring dragon continent. However, the strange thing was that this country did not like wars. Furthermore, the country was ruled by a female ruler. The Ming country would rather pay a large amount of peacetime military expenses to the surrounding countries than to recruit soldiers for wars. At the border of the Ming country, even a small country the size of a bean could ask the Ming country for money. The Ming country was also the only country in the soaring dragon continent that would not attack independent cities. When other countries invaded, the Ming country would usually send strong warriors to persuade the soldiers to retreat and offer a large amount of money. If the city lord became independent, or if a city was attacked by the enemy, the Ming country would be the only country that would appease the citizens and let them follow the new city lord and live a good life. At the same time, they would also use a large amount of money to redeem the citizens who were willing to return to the Ming country. If there was a country that treated benevolence, righteousness, and morality as the only standard of a country, it would be the Ming country that was ruled by a female ruler. To the ordinary citizens, this kind of country was very beautiful. But to the warriors, this kind of country was very depressing because they did not have the slightest desire to fight. They could only take a beating without retaliating. What did this mean? This kind of cowardly country should have been destroyed very quickly. On the contrary, the Ming country had a history of thousands of years. Other than the 3 big countries, the Xia, Tianluo, and Zijin, the Ming country had the longest history. Furthermore, the number of strong warriors that appeared in the Ming country was also incalculable. Even the talents of the 3 big countries, the Xia, Tianluo, and Zijin, could not be compared to the Ming country. The Ming country's territory kept shrinking, but the number of strong warriors kept increasing. In the eyes of the foreigners, the Ming country was a joke. Although the Ming country had more than 1 innate rancor, they were invaded by a country that did not have any innate rancors. Furthermore, they did not retaliate after the invasion. For some reason, the Ming country, which had been one of the top 10 countries in the soaring dragon continent for the past 100 years, suddenly disintegrated. The various city lords and lords all became independent. In the end, the Ming country became a small country, with only a flourishing capital left. 15 years ago, the Ming country's capital was attacked by the allied forces of many countries, and the Ming country perished. The royal family of the Ming country did not seek the protection of the 3 big countries, nor did they have any thoughts of reviving their country. They were taken away by the innate rancors of the country, and their whereabouts were unknown. Yu Yang had seen this part of history before, and felt that the Ming country was very strange. How could there be people with such a good temper, just taking a beating without retaliating? Furthermore, how could this kind of country continue to exist? Just like the Xia kingdom or the Tian Luo kingdom, even the emperor would stand up and risk his life for a small matter. The heavenly imperial guardians would even threaten to destroy the other party, but the innate rancors of the Ming country did not even mention anything about taking revenge or reviving their country. Could it be that those innate rancors were made of tofu? If the Ming country's ruling philosophy was not good, then how could it continue to exist for 1,000 years? If it wasn't for the sudden disintegration, the Ming country would probably still be one of the top 10 countries in the soaring dragon continent. Furthermore, its economy would definitely be the most prosperous one. In these 100 years, what actually happened that caused the Ming country to disintegrate? What happened 15 years ago that caused the Ming country to perish? Yu Yang felt that there must be some kind of reason behind it. It might even be related to him. No, it should be related to the pitiful guy, because the pitiful guy's parents had passed away 15 years ago. Could it be that the pitiful guy's real identity was related to the perishing Ming country? Yu Yang remembered the diary that the pitiful guy's parents had left behind. There must be some information recorded in the diary. Maybe he could find out the truth and find out the mystery of the pitiful guy's identity. He could also deduce why there were so many rancors joining hands to assassinate a shut-in who lived in the depths of Whitestone City. Thinking about this, Yu Yang suddenly wanted to take a look at the diary. Chapter 193. Why didn't the Ming Kingdom start a war? What I mean is, if they were worried about the casualties of their citizens, they could have hired mercenaries and warriors. It's better than not fighting back, right? Yu Yang really wanted to ask Anan's aunt what she was thinking. No matter if it's Her Majesty or the Valley Master, they are both kind and indifferent. They don't like war. In their hearts, no matter if it's their citizens or mercenaries, they're all lives. You are still young, so you can't understand their love and care for life. In their hearts, human life is the most important thing. As for the country, reputation, and money, they are not important at all. Our butterfly and 100-flower clans did not establish our country to rule the world, but to continue the descendants of our two clans. Since the two generations are going to perish, then the country is no longer important. Whether it disintegrates or invades, let others do it. Since we can't control it anymore, we might as well let it go. Without people, why would we need so many places? Anan's aunt gave a reply that made Yu Yang sweat profusely. Yu Yang never thought that Anan's aunt would say such a thing. If it was another person, Yu Yang might think that the person was a hypocrite. But for Anan's aunt and fourth mother who was sitting beside her, Yu Yang suddenly felt that it was very reasonable. Because if fourth mother's temperament was changed to be the queen, he believed that she would also rule the country like this. Because people like fourth mother were naturally kind and had no desire to fight. They were used to being submissive. It would be strange if they resisted. Yu Yang really wanted to ask about the identity of the pitiful guy's mother, but he was afraid that the pitiful guy already knew about it. If he asked, he would be exposed. Moreover, the old cunning fox, Xia Ho Wei Lai, Yi Kong, and Fatty Hai were all here. If he asked, it might not be convenient for him to answer. Since it's like this, if you need us juniors to run errands for you, you can tell me. Of course, Yu Yang pretended to be an obedient child and tried his best to leave a good impression in front of Anan. It could be seen that Anan attached great importance to Anan's future. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come here personally and even waited for Yu Yang to wake up to question him personally. You are all children. As long as you don't forget to cultivate, you can play as much as you want. Aunt Anan couldn't help but laugh when she heard that. She waved her hand and said, I'm not looking for you to do manual labor. I just heard that Nan gave you the necklace, so I wanted to come and see you. Ah, at that time, I didn't know that she was... At that time, she said that she would introduce her younger sister to me. Does Nan have a younger sister? Yu Yang pretended to be ignorant and asked. No, she's the only child, and it took me a lot of effort to keep her. She's shy and doesn't dare to tell you the truth. A few days ago, I found out that Asian was originally a descendant of the Hundred Flowers sect. Now, she has given birth to 2 daughters. I'm really touched. I never thought that the Hundred Flowers sect would have a descendant. The heavens really pity us. For a male descendant like you to be passed down from generation to generation, both the butterfly and hundred flower lineages, you're probably the only one in 100 years. When Enan's aunt said this, Yu Yang sweated profusely. He thought to himself, what kind of fertility is this? No wonder the country doesn't want them anymore. There's no male descendant to carry on the family line. However, they're all women, so it shouldn't be a problem if there's a male descendant, right? Yu Yang's imagination ran wild, but he couldn't understand it at the moment. Aunt Inan didn't specify what she wanted Yu Yang and Inan to do. She only asked Yu Yang to take some time to go back to the Valley of Butterflies and Hundred Flowers with Inan to meet the Valley Master. It would be best if he could bring Fourth Mother, Yu Bing, and Yu Shuang. She and Fourth Mother talked for a long time in a language that Yu Yang couldn't understand. She looked at Yu Yang from time to time, as if the topic they were discussing was related to Yu Yang. Someone strode into the courtyard from outside. His loud voice that sounded like a broken gong started shouting before he even entered the door. This broken white stone city is even worse than the place where my family's servants live. There's not a single good place to stroll around. I'm bored to death. I say, fourth daughter-in-law, has your family's third son not woken up yet? Even a pig won't sleep for so long. Could it be that he knows that I'm coming, so he's hiding? This isn't the style of a man. I hate cowards the most. A man that looked like a black Zhang Fei came in from outside the door. He was extremely tall and was estimated to be close to 2 meters tall. He walked briskly as soon as he entered the door. There was a loud thud. He almost broke the door, but he rubbed his forehead and walked in as if nothing had happened. He didn't say that he was careless when he walked, but blamed Yu Yang's house door for being too short. I say, fourth daughter-in-law, your family is also not doing well. You built a house, but you didn't even open the door properly. How are the guests supposed to enter? Yu Yang laughed when he heard that. The main thing is that my family doesn't have any power. If we were the relatives of the emperor, the guests would have to bow their heads and bend their backs to enter. No matter how short the door is, it wouldn't be a problem. The man that looked like a black Zhang Fei immediately shook his head when he heard that. He lectured Yu Yang. Brat, what do you know? It's only right to have a strong fist. What's the use of just being a relative of the emperor? If you want others to be afraid of you, you must be a strong warrior. Your fist must be stronger than anyone else's, and everyone would be afraid of you. Only then would they lower their heads. In this world, not to mention the relatives of the emperor, even the emperor wouldn't be able to do anything. Isn't your country's Junwu Yu an emperor? One of the 3 great empires' emperors, the emperor of the 9-5 great empires. How awesome does that sound? If he wants to see me, he would have to call me Big Brother. Do you know why? It's because my fist is stronger than his. If he doesn't call me that, I will beat him up. Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is the truth. Brother Hai, listen to me. Just now you said that you don't want to act big in front of the younger generation, but now you treat him as your big brother. He has been the number 2 for thousands of years. When did he become the big brother? How come I didn't know about it? At the door, Xia Emperor Junwu Yu, Elder Yu Hai, and 2 middle-aged men walked in while chatting. Yu Yang could tell that those 2 were not simple people. One was as powerful as a male lion, while the other had an aura as deep as a leopard. Although he didn't know them, the strength of these 2 people were not below that of the eagle-eyed Xia Houwei Lai. If they were compared to the rankers of the Yu clan castle, they might be slightly weaker than Yu Shan, but they were definitely stronger than second Uncle Yu Ling. Now, Yu Yang thought about the substitute clan master, Yu Shan's various signs and aura. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. This Yu Shan should not only have the strength of a level 6 intermediate elder, but he couldn't see it at that time. Now that he thought about it, he felt that Yu Shan was a little strange. If there was a chance, he must investigate Yu Shan in detail. This guy gave off a bad feeling. As for Yu Ling, forget it. He was just a little elder, he should just ignore him. Fourth Mother saw Elder Yu Hai and Junwu Yu entering the house, and quickly stood up to greet them. Junwuyu waved his hands casually, indicating that there was no need to be so polite. He walked to the old cunning fox's table and sat down. The eagle-eyed Xia Ho Wei Lai hurriedly stood up and poured tea for him. However, the old cunning fox only nodded his head and continued to sit in an arrogant manner. Elder Yu Hai nodded his head towards fourth mother and helped her up. However, he revealed an excited expression towards Yu Yang. Patting Yu Yang's shoulder, he nodded his head heavily and said, "All right." He seemed to be not very good at expressing his emotions. He patted Yu Yang's shoulder again, then turned around and sat beside Junwuyu. On the contrary, the Zhang Fei-like man who had taught Yu Yang a lesson just now started to shout strangely. He circled around Yu Yang and looked at him from left to right, just like a farmer who had run to the cattle market to pick out his cattle. His big hand pointed at Yu Yang as he turned around and asked Elder Yu Hai, "Boss Yu, is this brat your family's good-for-nothing Xiao San? He doesn't look like it. If this brat is a good-for-nothing, then I'll dig my eyes out for you. Didn't you come here to look for trouble? If you want to praise him, everyone is lining up to praise him. It's not even your turn yet." The old cunning fox was angry that Yu Yang didn't flatter him just now, so he took the opportunity to hit him when he was down. "Good fellow, it's fine if you don't mention it, but once you mention it, I get angry." The Zhang Fei-like man immediately became angry and grabbed onto Yu Yang's collar. Beat him up ruthlessly. You don't need to give me face." The old cunning fox added fuel to the fire. It's not good to slap him in the face, because Sister Fallen Flowers can easily see through it. If she feels sorry for you, second uncle, you'll be in big trouble. She won't be able to tell if you give this brat a few hidden punches. Why don't you take off his pants and spank his butt? Even if he beats you up ruthlessly, he won't dare to complain to Sister Fallen Flowers. This method is guaranteed to work. Princess Sisai was also angry that Yu Yang didn't give her face just now. She tried her best to give a Zhang Fei-like man a rotten idea. It turned out that she was actually this fellow's relative. "I'm born with divine strength. If I give him a few punches, won't this brat vomit blood and fall to the ground?" The Zhang Fei-like man's fists were indeed very big. When he shook them, it was very scary. Not at all. This brat's skin is very thick. He's very durable. The old cunning fox almost said that Yu Yang had copper skin and iron bones. Then I won't be polite. There's a ball of fire in my heart. If I don't hit someone, I won't be able to get rid of it. The Zhang Fei-like man's iron fist was about to hit Yu Yang's chest. Suddenly, Yu Yang stopped him. When Yu Yang stopped him, the Zhang Fei-like man was stunned. He didn't seem to understand why Yu Yang stopped him. He felt that hitting Yu Yang was a matter of course. If Yu Yang didn't let him hit him, it would be wrong. It might even be disgraceful. He asked curiously, "Why did you stop me? Don't tell me I can't hit you?" Yu Yang's face revealed a bright smile. He nodded and said, "Of course you can hit me. But why would a virtuous and talented senior like you want to hit me? Everyone knows that you've always been virtuous. You're kind and benevolent. You're wise and brave. You're filial to heaven and earth. You keep your word. You're a polite person. You've always been a righteous senior. Although you have divine strength in your arms, you'll never rely on your divine strength to bully the weak with your fists. An indomitable, strong person like you will always protect the younger generation." How could you be provoked by the old cunning fox's words? Could it be that the old cunning fox thinks that his provocation, which even a 3-year-old child can see through, can affect you, who is known as the resourceful star? I think that's absolutely impossible. When a Zhang Fei-like man heard this, he immediately put Yu Yang down. Seeing that Yu Yang's collar had wrinkled a little, he stretched out his hand and straightened it for Yu Yang. Nodding his head in agreement, he said, "Well said. Just now, I was just testing your courage. Now I realize that although your strength is not enough, your courage is not bad. You can be considered a good kid. As for other people's provocation, don't worry. I'm the wise Eastern Sky King. Can't I tell? You don't have to worry about me. I, the Eastern Sky King, have always been a virtuous person. Don't worry, I'll never hit you. Although I have divine strength, I'll never use violence." When the old cunning fox heard this, he immediately fell to the ground. He had seen people who liked to listen to flattery, but he had never seen someone who liked to listen to flattery so much. What an idiot. Princess Sisai's face was full of black lines. If he wasn't an elder, she would have poured hot tea on his head to wake him up. Idiot, you betrayed him and still gave him money. That kid had already abducted your daughter. Why are you still trying to reason with him? The old cunning fox almost died from anger. He originally thought that Yu Yang would suffer a little, but now it seemed that it was impossible. That's right. Why should I reason with you? The Zhang-Fei-like Eastern Sky King raised his fist angrily and was about to beat Yu Yang up. It's fine if you're being unreasonable, but you're a senior expert. You can't possibly wrongly accuse a good person, right? Why do you want to hit me? Yu Yang calmly asked. You've messed me up, but I definitely have a reason for hitting you. Let me hit you first, then I'll explain it to you slowly. The Eastern Sky King felt that he was reasonable. It was just that after listening to Yu Yang's explanation, he was a little confused. He couldn't remember the reason why he hit him. What if I'm wrongly accused? Can you let me hit you back? Yu Yang asked back. Of course not. I'm a dignified prince of Tian Luo Kingdom and also a senior. It's reasonable for me to hit you, but it's also reasonable for me to not hit you. Even if I hit you wrongly, it's your misfortune. The Eastern Sky King made it clear that he definitely wouldn't let Yu Yang hit him back, regardless of whether he hit him wrongly or not. You're really a senior expert. What you said is absolutely right. Yu Yang smiled and affirmed. He gave the other party a thumbs up and praised him. In the end, when the other party was still happy, he suddenly asked, Senior, I've never met you before. We don't even know each other. Once you entered the door, you started shouting about wanting to kill me. Furthermore, you did it in front of so many people. If everyone wasn't here, I reckon you would have killed my entire family. Is this how you act as a prince and a senior expert? I've been friends with your grandfather for more than 100 years. How could I do such a thing? You're simply slandering me. The Eastern Sky King was furious. So that's how it is. This little one has made a slip of the tongue. Please forgive me, Your Highness, who is open-minded, magnanimous, tolerant, magnanimous, and generous. Although Yu Yang's collar was being pulled, he still cupped his fists respectfully. It's a small matter. My heart is like the ocean. I'll forgive you. The Eastern Sky King would be delighted when he heard flattery. He's a liar. He kidnapped your daughter. The old fox quickly reminded him. You liar. You dare to kidnap my precious daughter? I'll beat you to death. The Eastern Sky King immediately turned hostile and raised his fist. You're saying that I kidnapped your daughter? Yu Yang asked suspiciously. That's right. The Eastern Sky King was 100% sure. Kidnapping and selling women and children is a serious crime. I support you on this point. However, did you see it with your own eyes? Did you find your daughter in this house? Yu Yang asked again. The Zhang-Fei-like burly man was speechless. Where could he find the evidence? He had only heard it from others. Idiot, he didn't really kidnap and sell you. He just stole your daughter's body and mind. He is a heartless and fickle man, a playboy, a playboy, a playboy. If you don't beat him up, what are you waiting for? The old fox was getting anxious. When the old fox said that, the Eastern Sky King raised his fist again. This time, he was determined to beat up Yu Yang no matter what he said. Before you beat me to death, I want to know your daughter's name. Otherwise, I won't be able to die in peace. Yu Yang let out a long sigh. My precious daughter is, of course, the most obedient, beautiful, and adorable little fallen flowers. She was tricked by you. Now, she's hiding in her garden. She cries every day and washes her face with tears. I'm doing justice for the heavens by beating you up. When the Eastern Sky King said that, Yu Yang broke into a sweat. How did this guy give birth to City Lord Fallen Flowers? It seemed that City Lord Fallen Flowers' excellent genes were all inherited from her mother. Otherwise, she would have become a female barbarian. It's a misunderstanding. Actually, I'm the personal guard captain of City Lord Fallen Flowers. Yu Yang quickly put on an expression as if they were on the same side. He said with an unquestionable tone, although I didn't receive my salary, I can tell you responsibly that I've been working for half a month. Personal guard captain? The Eastern Sky King was stunned. You're the personal guard captain of Little Fallen Flowers? as early as when I went to the third floor of Tong Tian Tower to retrieve the demonic flower from the Flying Peak Space Pavilion. She had already made this request. But at that time, I still had some pocket money in my pocket, so I declined and did not accept this part-time job. But you know me, I'm very soft-hearted, especially towards girls. I said that I'd consider it and didn't reject her outright, mainly because I was afraid that your daughter would be sad. Of course, your precious daughter is also a reasonable person. She respects other people's opinions just like you. So she didn't force me to take the part-time position of personal guard captain. As soon as Yang said this, the Eastern Sky King quickly let go of his hand and tidied up Yu Yang's collar. Yu Yang thanked him and continued. Later, I went to the Despair Abyss to pick the starlight, serene indigo grass. I thought that City Lord Fallen Flowers was a flower lover, so I invited her to pick it with me. After that, many things happened. I saw that City Lord Fallen Flowers was very sincere, so I agreed to be her personal guard captain. However, I mentioned that she wouldn't be on night shifts and that she would get double pay for overtime and rest during holidays. She also agreed to it. You know that she's just like you, very understanding and kind-hearted. She went home and cried? I don't think so. She didn't even cry when I did it with her. Why would she cry when she got home? What did you do with her? Eastern Sky King exploded when he heard that. He almost strangled Yu Yang to death. Grilled fish. I was grilling fish with her at the Cloud Top Lake. She put too much salt in it, so I criticized her a little. She didn't cry at that time. I thought she wouldn't cry when she got home. Who doesn't know? Yu Yang spread his hands, indicating that he was wrong. That scared me to death. So it was just grilled fish. Eastern Sky King patted his chest hard. Fortunately, nothing happened. That wasn't just grilled fish. I also did. Before Yu Yang could finish speaking, Eastern Sky King lifted him into the air again. He looked like he was going to swallow Yu Yang alive. What else did you do with her? I made a corolla. You also know that your daughter likes flowers very much. I made a corolla for her. It was very suitable for her to wear. Under the starlight, she was as beautiful as the flowers. That kind of delicate posture was unparalleled, especially when she didn't wear. Yu Yang stopped halfway. She didn't wear anything? Eastern Sky King cried. It was over. His precious daughter didn't wear any clothes. What would the result be? It's over, it's over. She didn't wear shoes. Her small jade feet were soaked in the lake water. The starlight reflected crystal clear. At that time, I almost wanted to recite a poem to express my amazement. Unfortunately, my literary talent was limited. Also, I was shocked by her peerless beauty. I was shocked by the beautiful scenery of heaven and earth. Therefore, I didn't recite a poem. Why are you crying? When Yu Yang asked, Eastern Sky King hurriedly wiped his tears and revealed a smile. I'm not crying. These are tears of joy. Are you really the personal guard captain of Little Fallen Flowers? Eastern Sky King patted Yu Yang's shoulder affectionately. That's my honor. Do you think it's possible for me to fake it? Yu Yang puffed out his chest. His expression was incomparably proud. You really have nothing to do with her? Eastern Sky King asked. Wouldn't there be? Of course, Qian, the Rouge Tigress, was also there. If you don't believe me, you can ask her. Yu Yang pointed at Princess Sisai, who was snickering. Princess Sisai saw Yu Yang glaring at her. His expression seemed to say, if you really say it, we'll break up and die together. She stuck out her little pink tongue and snorted. She turned her head away and didn't look at him. However, she pricked up her ears and listened to him bluffing. Why didn't you say so earlier? Eastern Sky King almost fainted. 2 women and 1 man. Moreover, the 2 women were love rivals. It wasn't a man and a woman alone. Didn't I worry for nothing? Jun Wu Yu and the others pretended that they didn't hear anything, but they were secretly laughing until their stomachs burst. They didn't expect that the Eastern Sky King, who was known as the Fire Barbarian Bull, would actually be fooled by a junior like Yu Yang. Not only was his fiery bull temper unable to explode, he was also almost beaten to the ground by Yu Yang. This fellow even boasted that he would definitely beat up this cunning brat. Now he had suffered a huge setback. Fourth Mother saw that the Eastern Sky King couldn't explode, so she secretly sulked. She rebuked Yu Yang and asked him to apologize, you're really mischievous. Quickly apologize to the Eastern Sky King. There's nothing for you kids to do here. You guys go and play yourselves. We still have something to discuss. Princess Sisai signaled Yu Yang to walk out. She had something to talk to Yu Yang about. If it was just her, Yu Yang wouldn't care about her. This rouge tigress had been causing trouble for him just now. He still hadn't punished her yet. However, his cousin Yu Yu also stood up and whispered into Yu Yang's ear. Those subordinates of yours who participated in rescuing Fourth Mother have almost all sacrificed themselves. There's only one left. She's heavily injured. I'm afraid she won't be able to live past today. She wants to see you before she dies. Subordinate? When did he have any subordinates? Yu Yang was curious. Chapter 194. Yu Yang followed Princess Sisai and his cousin Yu Yu to the White Stone City Infirmary. To his surprise, he found out that the mysterious subordinate was actually the big-breasted tavern girl from the Eastern Tavern. Now, half of her body was destroyed, and she was on the verge of death, lying on a sickbed in the infirmary. Although the medical staff tried their best to save her, her injuries were too severe. Yu Yang could clearly feel that her life force was on the verge of dying even without using his hands. There was no possibility of her recovering. Other than asking her to pawn the loot that he had seized from Tai Kuang, Yu Yang did not have any other contact with this big-breasted tavern girl. After that, because Yu Yang went to Tong Tian Tower to look for Yu Bing and brought Fourth Mother back to the Yu clan castle, a series of things happened. He had never seen her again, nor did he have the time to return to Whitestone City. Why would she pretend to be his subordinate to save Fourth Mother now? How did she know that Fourth Mother was in danger? Even if she knew that Fourth Mother was in danger, how did she confirm the relationship between him and Fourth Mother? This was really strange. Yu Yang could not understand. The only thing he could be sure of now was that this big-breasted tavern girl did not have any evil intentions. She had even sacrificed herself to save Fourth Mother. There were a total of 13 of them. Other than a little girl who disguised herself as Shuang Er, the rest were all sacrificed. She was the last one. She forced herself to hold on to her last breath and said that she wanted to see you before she died. Cousin Yu Yu's voice was a little choked. She summoned a ball of white light and gently placed it on the tavern girl's body. If it was a normal injured person, even if they were seriously injured, they would recover quickly. However, the effect was not that great now. Although the tavern girl's body had recovered a little, the recovery was extremely small for someone who was on the verge of death. The tavern girl did not even open her eyes. She's already at her limit. Princess Sisai's mood was also quite heavy. Brother, quickly think of a way. Yu Bing hugged Yu Yang's arm as she wiped her tears. Not only her, even Yi Kong and Fatty Hai were shaking their heads and sighing. This was an injured person that the old cunning fox and the eagle-eyed teacher had brought to the starved Dog Mountain Valley to fight a bloody battle with the Thousand Goblins sect. The others had all died, except for the last one, who had also become like this. I'll give it a try. If it was in the past, Yu Yang would not be able to do anything about it. But now, he had just learned more innate chi control skills from the big lowly in the dream world, and one of them was related to healing. He stretched out his hand and gently placed it on the tavern lady's forehead. His innate chi gently seeped into her forehead, waking her up from her coma. With Yu Yang's current healing ability, he could only wake her up. Unless his healing ability was increased by 100 times, he would not be able to save the tavern girl whose injuries were so severe that even Junwu Yu's imperial doctor could not do anything about it. Yu Yu's beast was a healer. She knew that it was already a miracle that she could wake her up. Slowly, the tavern girl's pale face suddenly had a tinge of red, and her eyelashes trembled. Under everyone's surprised gaze, she slowly opened her eyes. She looked at everyone's face for a while, and finally fixed her gaze on Yu Yang's face. She instantly recognized him, and her eyes were filled with surprise. She became energetic, and her lips trembled, as if she wanted to say something. Seeing that it was really effective, Yu Yang quickly transferred more innate chi to her forehead. It's really you. I thought that I would never see you again. The tavern girl's voice was extremely weak, so weak that it was almost inaudible. Yu Yang's hearing was very sharp. He nodded lightly and comforted her. "It's me. Don't worry. Your injuries will recover. We will think of a way to cure your injuries. Thank you for saving my fourth mother and my sister. Don't think too much now. Just focus on recuperating. You will definitely recover." A very faint smile appeared on the tavern girl's face. She said weakly, I already knew that I wouldn't recover. My own body, I know it very well. It's nothing, I don't regret it. In fact, I feel very honored. I'm just a small character. I've never done anything big in my life, and I've never saved anyone. My current situation is what I wish for the most in my heart. People like us, living is a disgrace, living is suffering. I persevered to live because I wanted to take revenge. Now that I've taken my revenge and fulfilled my wish, I don't have any regrets in my heart anymore. As she spoke, a beautiful radiance appeared on her face. Her face was glowing. It seemed like her injuries had completely recovered. Her eyes were glowing brighter than usual, and her lips were rosy. Even her weak breathing had become longer and stronger. Princess Sisai and Yu knew that this was just the final radiance of the setting sun. This tavern girl's life was going to burn for the last time. It was going to shine for the last time before it reached its end. Actually, I recognized you a long time ago. When you were playing on the street with your sister, I would often peek at you from behind the window. Although you covered your face when you came out at night to punish the criminals, your eyes were different from the others. I could recognize you at first glance. I didn't tell my sisters about this secret until Chong Dao came and mentioned you to the criminals. After I got the information, I quickly found my sisters and discussed it with them. Only then did they know that the person who helped us to take revenge was you. We decided to pretend to be your subordinates and rescue Madam and Miss in advance. As long as they left Whitestone City, the criminals wouldn't be able to find them. I didn't know that they were so powerful. We split up and walked such a long distance, but they still managed to catch up to us. We didn't do it well. Fortunately, God has blessed us and Madam and Miss are safe and sound. The radiance on the tavern girl's face became more intense, and her words became clearer. You guys did a great job. Without you guys, Fourth Mother and Shuang Air would have died. I thank you on their behalf. Yu Yang was full of gratitude and respect for these tavern girls. In the past, Yu Yang looked down on these women. Later on, when he found out that they were forced by Tai Kwong, he felt a bit of sympathy for them. However, he didn't think of changing their fate. He didn't expect that a small favor that day, by killing Tai Kwong, would be rewarded with such a great reward. These lowly, despised tavern girls sacrificed 12 lives to accomplish something that even the loyal family warriors might not be able to do. They sacrificed their own lives and brought Fourth Mother to escape thousands of miles away. They even used their own children to impersonate Shuang to divert the enemy's attention. When Yu Yang killed Tai Kwong, he only wanted to cultivate the thorny flower. He didn't think of saving these tavern girls. However, it was a simple action that was exchanged for the kindness of others who didn't hesitate to sacrifice their lives to repay him. Young master, don't be sad. I have always wanted to do something for you, but I don't have the ability to do it. I have always regretted it. Being able to help you, even if it's just a little, I am very happy. I'm fine. Actually, I don't want to live anymore. Living is torture. You don't know how happy I am to die like this. To be able to see you one more time before I die. I don't have any regrets. The tavern girl smiled again. Even her eyes were smiling. It was as if she had done the proudest thing in her life. She laughed from the bottom of her heart. Yu Bing's hot tears rolled down. Her tears wet the back of Yu Yang's hand. Yu also cried her eyes out. The strong princess Qian also quietly wiped away the beads of tears that had unknowingly slipped down her cheeks. Fatty Hai tried his best not to cry. His face was distorted as tears flowed down his cheeks. He clenched his teeth tightly to stop himself from crying. He couldn't bear to look anymore. The Li brothers clenched their fists tightly. They weren't good at expressing themselves. They wanted to say something to comfort her, but they didn't know what to say. Yu Yang took a deep breath and forcefully controlled his emotions. He looked at the tavern girl, whose radiance was fading away. He knew that she didn't have much time left. He leaned down and asked softly, "Do you still have any wishes? What can I help you with? Please give me a name." "I don't have a name." The tavern girl's voice became weaker. "What?" Yu Yang was surprised. There is actually someone who didn't have a name in this world. "I'm the daughter of a slave in a prison camp. I don't have a name since I was young. I only have a serial number. I'm a lowly slave. I've been sold here and there since I was young. When I grew up, I was just a tool for people to vent their desires. I'm just a piece of meat that was played with. I don't have dignity nor freedom. I'm a slave destined to be oppressed by thousands of people. No one has ever treated me as a human. Only you, young master, look at me as a human. Only you, young master, treat me as a human. Young master, if only I could meet you earlier. How good would that be? Even in my dreams, I wish that I could live again and be young master's servant for the rest of my life. I don't want to be sold here and there like before. I don't want to be a piece of meat that can be toyed with by others. I want to be a human. In the next life, young master, if there's a next life, please let me be your servant. In this world, only you can treat me as a human. Young master, if there's a next life. If there's a next life, the tavern girl couldn't even wait for Yu Yang to give her a name. She murmured a sigh and quietly breathed her last. Yu Yang shut his eyes tightly, sealing the pain and tears in his heart. A teardrop dripped onto her eyeball. It flowed along the corner of her eye and slid down her cheek. He reached out his hand and gently covered the tavern girl's face. He gently closed her widened eyes and nodded his head heavily. He said word by word, "I'll definitely give you a name. You were a lowly slave that was sold here and there. But from today onwards, you'll be my servant. You're no longer a commodity, but a human. You're also not a piece of meat that is humiliated by others. You'll be a person with dignity and freedom in the future. Even if you lose your life, no one will ever dare to look down on you, because I'm your master. I swear that I'll make the person who hurt you pay 1,000 times." The dead tavern girl seemed to have heard Yu Yang's words. The corner of her lips curled up a little, as if she was smiling silently. Yu Bing hugged her brother and cried loudly. Fatty Hai even banged his head on the wall, crying his heart out. Princess Sisai and Yu Yu hugged each other and cried. Yi Kong and the Li brothers looked at Yu Yang with red eyes. In their hearts, Yu Yang was omnipotent and could create miracles at any time. They hoped that Yu Yang would resurrect the nameless tavern girl. She deserved to be a person, more than some people. However, Yu Yang had no way to resurrect the tavern girl. City Mistress Fallen Flowers had already said that the heavenly resurrection crystal had already been used up. Anyone's death in this world would be an irreversible result. Yu Yang was thinking of a way to preserve the corpse in an ice coffin, or should he use the soul-absorbing pearl that he obtained from Duke Xian to seal the tavern girl's soul? However, Yu Yang didn't know how to use the soul-absorbing pearl. He didn't know what would happen if he did that. However, he couldn't hesitate now. Yu Yang immediately took out the soul-absorbing pearl from his lich ring and prepared to place it on the tavern girl's forehead. Suddenly, a rainbow light flashed. Little Wenli floated out and stopped Yu Yang with her little hands. Yu Yang was elated. Could it be that this little darling had a way? Chapter 195. Little Wenli stopped Yu Yang, but she didn't do anything. She just tilted her head and looked at the dead tavern girl. She blinked her big eyes and seemed to be thinking of a solution. When everyone placed their hopes on her and looked at her attentively, Little Wenli shook her head at Yu Yang, implying that there was no solution. Yu Bing hugged Little Wenli and cried sadly. Think again. There must be a solution. You must be able to think of a good solution. Think again. I beg you. Think again. Yi Kong and the Li brothers also looked at Little Wenli, hoping that she could create a miracle. Princess Sisai hugged Yu Yu and held Yu Yang's arm tightly. She was extremely nervous. Actually, it wasn't just her. Yu Yang was also very nervous. He knew that Little Wenli shook her head because she had no solution, but he still hoped for a miracle to happen. Little Wenli was hugged by Yu Bing and cried loudly. She was at a loss of what to do. She looked at Yu Yang and suddenly made a gesture. Yu Yang was stunned. Could it be that Little Wenli wanted to talk to him alone? Yu Yang thought of something and took her from Yu Bing's arms. He asked in surprise. Is there a solution? Little One Li grabbed Yu Yang's hand and bit Yu Yang's finger lightly. Blood flowed out. She blew the wound on Yu Yang's finger with her mouth, feeling sorry for him. Then, she pulled his finger to the tavern girl's forehead and drew a rune with her blood. Everyone held their breath when they saw her move, afraid that they would affect her. Yu Yang felt that this rune was a little familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Before Yu Yang could recall, Little One Li drew a contract symbol on the tavern girl's forehead. Princess Sisai shook her head secretly. A human could contract with any beast, but definitely not with a human. This was an unchangeable ancient rule. A warrior could contract with a humanoid beast, but no matter how strong the warrior was, he could not contract with the weakest human. Humans could only contract with beasts. Princess Sisai didn't understand what Little One Li meant, but she knew that humans could not contract with each other. Little One Li blocked Yu Yang's finger and drew a string of blood runes on the tavern girl's face, neck, shoulder, and chest. Finally, she used Yu Yang's blood to draw a big rune circle on the tavern girl's heart. In the end, she pulled Yu Yang's finger and kissed it. Her cute big eyes were filled with tears, looking like she was about to cry. Yu Yang didn't really care about losing a bit of blood. As long as there was a little hope, he wouldn't stop even if he had to pay a big price. It's okay, be good, don't cry. Yu Yang hugged Little One Li lightly and kissed her little face, comforting her. Okay. Little One Li made a gesture of flame. She seemed to want to burn the tavern girl's body. Let's go find some wine and oil. We'll be quick. Yi Kong and the Li brothers turned around and ran out. However, when they returned with the wine and oil, Little One Li waved her hand and shook Yu Yang's hand. Did she want Yu Yang to do it himself? Yi Kong passed the wine to Yu Yang, but Little One Li still shook her head. Yu Yang's heart skipped a beat. Did Little One Li want him to use Nirvana's flame? This flame was no joke. Once it was used, the whole space would be destroyed. Yu Bing and Princess Sisai's lives would be in danger. Thinking of this, Yu Yang wrapped the tavern girl's body with a blanket. He decided to go out and bring her to a suitable place before thinking of a way to use Nirvana's flame. He opened a teleportation scroll and raised the teleportation gate that led to the dimension of Duel, where he fought with Tu Cheng. Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others naturally rushed into the dimension of Duel. Princess Sisai, Yu Yu, and Yu Bing also rushed into the dimension of Duel. The corpses of the golden giant Tu Cheng and the silver giant Quang Zhan were still lying on the ground. The corpses of the golden dragon and the ancient giant beast were also scattered everywhere. The volcano on the ground did not erupt. What surprised Yu Yang was that the corpses here did not decompose even after 10 days. They were still as good as before. All of you, move further away. Yu Yang told Yi Kong and the others who were watching to move further away. Yi Kong and the others hurriedly moved a few steps back. Yu Yang looked at them helplessly and could only fly further away with the tavern girl. Although he was still unable to unseal his innate strength, once he released his aura, the rumbling aura was like a hurricane that blew Yi Kong and the others away. Fatty Hai, who was extremely heavy, was also blown away by the shockwave. When he fell down, his jaw dropped to the ground. He was so shocked that he could not speak for a while. They knew that Yu Yang was very strong, but they did not expect him to be so strong to such an unimaginable extent. Princess Sisai was slightly better as she knew Yu Yang's strength. However, the two sisters, Yu Yu and Yu Bing, were stunned. Their little mouths were wide open, unable to close. Seeing that Yu Yang was going to continue to increase his strength, Yu Bing hurriedly summoned her grimoire. On the other side, Fatty Hai also summoned his grimoire clumsily. After a long time, he finally summoned his grimoire. With the shield, Yu Yang finally did not have to worry that the Nirvana's flame would hurt Yu Bing and the others. Yu Yang tried to condense a ball of Nirvana's flame in his palm. It was easy to control the Nirvana's flame in the innate realm. However, Yu Yang could not summon the Nirvana's flame even after trying for a long time. Little One Li told Yu Yang not to be anxious. She hugged Yu Yang's thigh and waited quietly. As dark golden ancient runes appeared on Yu Yang's body, a ball of Nirvana's flame finally appeared on Yu Yang's palm. In just a second, the tavern girl's body was burnt to ashes. There seemed to be some rune patterns burning in the Nirvana's flame for 2 seconds. However, as the Nirvana's flame in Yu Yang's palm disappeared, the tavern girl's body was completely burnt to ashes and disappeared without a trace. It was as if she had never existed in this world. Even an innate rancor could not withstand the Nirvana's flame, let alone an ordinary girl. Yu Yang was stunned. He did not expect that. He did not even have the time to regret. The tavern girl's body was burnt to ashes in less than a second. When little one Li saw that the resurrection ritual had failed, she could not hold it in anymore. She hugged Yu Yang and cried for the first time. She cried very sadly. In her mind, not only did she destroy the chance of resurrection, but she also wasted a lot of Yu Yang's blood. At that moment, she could not accept her failure. She threw herself into Yu Yang's arms and cried loudly. Big drops of tears splashed all over Yu Yang's body. It's okay, don't cry. This is her fate. It's not your fault. Yu Yang was also very sad. However, resurrection was not something that could be forced. It was the tavern girl's fate that she could not be resurrected. It was not little Wen Li's fault. Sob, sob, sob. Little Wen Li cried very sadly. This was the first time she cried in front of Yu Yang. She was completely like a little girl. She did not look like a little god of war at all. Yu Yang sighed softly. He caressed her back and kissed away her tears. He had tried his best, but he still could not succeed. The poor tavern girl had a miserable life. She had lost her only chance of resurrection. Her whole life was a tragedy. Yu Yang shook his head when he saw everyone crying. He kept the corpses of Tu Cheng, Kuang Zhan, the golden dragon, and the ancient giant beast. He hugged the sobbing little Wen Li and prepared to leave this sad place. Suddenly, a volcano that was hidden underground exploded. Rumble. The explosion shook the ground, and fiery red magma spurted into the air. Yu Yang was shocked. These volcano traps were set up by Tu Cheng to ambush him. If no one triggered them, they would never explode. How'd they break through and explode now? Rumble, 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 rumble. 10 volcano traps that were hidden underground exploded one after another. Blood-red magma spurted into the sky. Volcanic ash, thick smoke, and blood-red magma splattered all over the place. Before Yu Yang could react, Yu suddenly screamed excitedly. Come here. Look here. There's a shadow here. Look. Yu Yang looked at the direction of her finger and saw a strange shadow that was formed by flames and thick smoke. It was flying around in the magma of the fire rocks. It went in and out of the magma from time to time, as if it was playing happily. This is... Yu Yang realized that this shadow, which was formed by 30% fire and 70% smoke, looked a little similar to the tavern girl. This shadow did not have a physical body. It seemed to be formed by flames and smoke. However, it could change shape at any time. It could turn into a pillar of smoke that shot into the sky, or a fireball that smashed into the magma. Not only did the magma not harm the shadow's body, but also increased its energy. The thick smoke and magma of the volcano gradually became a part of the shadow's body after it went in and out of the magma. Yu Yang realized that there was a familiar rune on the shadow's forehead. There was also a faint rune pattern on its body. This was indeed the tavern girl's transformation. She did not die, but she had become a smoke lady formed by thick smoke and flames. She didn't look like a human, but she didn't look like a beast either. He really didn't know how to classify her. However, everyone cheered. As long as the tavern girl could be resurrected, it didn't matter what she became. Little Wen Li was the happiest. She hugged Yu Yang's neck and shouted excitedly. Although this resurrection ritual was not successful, it was not a complete failure either. Part of her thought was correct. At least the tavern girl who had wasted a lot of Yu Yang's blood was still alive. At least her soul was still alive. It was just that her body was completely destroyed. She doesn't seem to recognize us anymore. Princess Sisai called out a few times. The smoke lady that was formed by thick smoke and flames twisted her body. She rolled up a cloud of thick smoke and arrived in front of Princess Sisai. Her pair of eyes that were burning with flames stared at Princess Sisai for a while. Then, she turned around and left as she couldn't recognize her at all. She looked like a child who had no memories of her past. She only cared about her own fun. It's all right as long as she's happy. Yu Yang smiled. Perhaps this ending was the best for the tavern girl. If she retained her past memories, it would only increase her pain. Wouldn't it be better for her to play freely like this without any restrictions? Not remembering anything and not knowing anything was a kind of happiness. Yu nodded. She agreed with Yu Yang's words. She also felt that this was the best. The tears on Yu Bing's face had not dried yet, but a smile blossomed on her face. It was like a sunny day after a storm. She hugged Yu Yang's arm and acted like a spoiled child. Brother, let's bring her home. It's all right even if she's like this now. Let her live here by herself. She belongs here. It's not a good thing for her to return to the soaring dragon continent. Yu Yang caressed Yu Bing's head and rejected her. Won't she feel lonely here alone? Yu Bing asked reluctantly. It's all right. We will visit her when we're free. Yu Yang carried little Wan Li with one hand and opened a teleportation scroll with the other. He was about to leave. When the smoke lady who was playing happily saw Yu Yang carrying little Wan Li, she suddenly rushed over with a rumbling sound. She stared at Yu Yang with her burning eyes without blinking. Yu Yang waved his hand at her to bid farewell. She suddenly got closer and stared into Yu Yang's eyes. She even stretched out her burning fingers and tried to scratch Yu Yang's eyes. Princess Sisai was startled. She immediately reacted. Yu Yang, she still has some memories. She still remembers your eyes. The smoke lady suddenly retracted her hand and turned into thick smoke flying towards the sky. She turned into a fireball from a very high place and quickly dropped down to the nearest volcano. She happily played with the lava, as if she had no impression of Yu Yang at all. It was just a memory fragment just now. It was not enough to affect her state of mind. Everyone sighed softly. However, Yu Yang only smiled. He turned around and was about to leave. The smoke lady quickly spun around and followed behind Yu Yang. She then spun around and flew to Yu Yang's front to look at his eyes. Yu Yang, try and see if you can summon her. She might be your beast. Try. Princess Sisai felt that the smoke lady could no longer be called a human. She should be an element-type beast. How is that possible? Humans can't contract other humans. This is absolutely impossible. Yu Yang also knew that warriors could only contract with beasts. It was useless for humans. Try. There are runes and contract circles on her forehead. Not only Princess Sisai doubted it. Everyone had seen this fact with their own eyes. The smoke lady could no longer be called a human. Her memories had disappeared. Her body was made up of smoke and flames. The only thing that was preserved was her soul. Why did it become like this? Everyone was confused. Maybe the old cunning fox or Grandma Wu-Tung would know what was going on. The best thing to do now was to bring her out. Yu Yang tried with his heart and realized that there was really a connection between their minds. However, it was very faint. He tried to summon her back, but realized that there was a resistance that rejected him. The smoke lady, who was looking straight at Yu Yang, was suddenly startled. She turned into a pillar of smoke and flew high into the lava. She disappeared in an instant. Yu Yang summoned his silver grimoire in doubt. When he opened it, he felt dizzy. Sure enough, there was a picture of a smoke lady with thick smoke and flames on the originally blank page. Spirit of flame and smoke. Humanoid element type. Silver ranked, level 1. Incorporeal. Guardian beast. Incorporeal. Special skills. Incorporeal. Thick smoke. Incinerate. Everyone looked at it and were dumbfounded. How did a perfectly fine person turn into a guardian beast? Wasn't there only one guardian beast? They didn't know that Yu Yang actually had many guardian beasts. However, they had never seen a guardian beast that was transformed from a human like the smoke lady. What surprised Yu Yang the most was that he couldn't control her. This proved that she had high intelligence and knew how to reject others. Her intelligence shouldn't be lower than the Bloody Queen's. If she could be trained properly, her future would be limitless. Forget it, this is also good. Yu Yang felt that it was good to have an ending. There were many things that he couldn't understand anyway. Yeah, this is the best. I hope this is the best. When Yu Bing saw that the tavern girl who saved her mother and sister was not dead and had even become her brother's guardian beast, she was overjoyed. She nodded her head and agreed with her brother's words. When Yu Yang and the others left, the smoke lady floated out of the thick smoke and stared at Yu Yang's back curiously. Although her memories had disappeared, there seemed to be a few fragments of her memories that made her feel that he was different from the others. However, she didn't know how to react to it. When they returned to Whitestone City, Yu Yang asked Yu Bing to go to the outer hall and summon the old cunning fox. The old cunning fox jumped up when he heard it. How is this possible? You guys are trying to trick me and make a fool of me, right? How could a human become a beast? This is impossible. A human being is dead. It's impossible for them to be resurrected, let alone become a beast. What's with your expressions? I, the vice principal, am knowledgeable. I know everything from astronomy to geography. How could I not know this basic knowledge? Where's your evidence? Let me see. I'm going to faint. Chapter 196. The old cunning fox couldn't understand why the tavern girl had turned into a spirit of flame and smoke. Grandma Wu Tong wasn't around, so Yu Yang dismissed the idea of asking others. It would be better if fewer people knew about this. After everyone discussed in the outer hall, they seemed to have come to a conclusion. Yu Yang didn't know what it was exactly, but seeing the old cunning fox winking at him, it seemed like it wasn't a bad thing. After everyone gathered for a long time, the eagle-eyed Xiahou Wei Lai took Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others away, saying that he wanted to train in hell. Yi Kong and the others felt that they were too far away from Yu Yang. If they followed Yu Yang, they would only be a burden to him. Hence, they gritted their teeth and followed the eagle-eyed man to train. Even the lazy Fatty Hai also started to work hard after Yu Yang's influence. His improvement speed was so fast that it made people's eyeballs pop out. Before Yi Kong left, he asked Yu Yang if he wanted to form a team and join the 100 Schools Elite Tournament. Yu Yang had even killed an innate ranker like Tu Cheng before, so he wasn't in the mood to compete with a group of students. However, looking at Yu Bing, who was looking at him with anticipation, he nodded his head and agreed. Yu Bing hoped that her brother would be able to wash away the name of trash. Seeing that he agreed to join the 100 Schools Elite Tournament, she nodded her head excitedly. Although he had caused a ruckus in the Yu Clan castle previously, there weren't many people who knew that Yu Yang had become a ranker from trash. Yu Bing's thoughts were that if her brother could show off his might in the 100 Schools Elite Tournament and win the championship, no one in the world would laugh at her brother anymore. Let's go to Tong Tian Tower. You can first clear the 12 zodiac temples on the first floor. When you have cultivated the holy beast, we can do the world tree quest together. Brat, you have become stronger, but don't you care about your sister? Bring her along. Princess Sisai didn't give Yu Yang a chance to rest and pulled him along. Have you surpassed level 5? Cousin Yu was worried that Yu Yang had already surpassed level 5. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to enter the 12 zodiac temples. No, Yu Yang usually did not take out his grimoire to fight, so his level was very low. He was only a level 2 brave man now. Then let's go. Princess Sisai had been nurtured by her master since she was young. She trained and battled every day and had long surpassed level 5. She didn't have the chance to enter the 12 zodiac temples, so she was envious of Yu Yang. Of course, in order to pursue the greatest battle power, she had only nurtured her guardian beast. Her strength was also much stronger than her peers. Other than Yu Yang, the abnormal guy from another world, no one else was her match. The old fox was supportive of Yu Yang's training. He expressed that he would stay behind to help Yu Yang settle everything, then send forth Mother and Shuang to a safe place to stay. Because Yu Yang had already risen to power and killed Tu Cheng and Quang Zhan of the Thousand Goblins sect, the Thousand Goblins sect would not dare to have any ideas about Fourth Mother for the time being. For safety, Jun Yu, Elder Yu Hai, and the old fox discussed and decided to send Fourth Mother to a hidden safe place so that no one would know about her. As for other matters, such as the arrangements of the tavern girl's relatives, they didn't need Yu Yang to worry about them. They had already sent people to fetch them so that they could live a new life. Yu Yang really wanted to see Yan'an and City Mistress Fallen Flowers, but both of them had hidden themselves and refused to see him. They seemed to know that their parents were looking for Yu Yang, so they didn't want to see Yu Yang. And Anne was slightly better. She left a letter for Yu Yang, saying that she would go home and meet up with Yu Yang at the 100 Schools Elite Tournament. There was no news about City Mistress Fallen Flowers at all. Princess Sisai said that she was cultivating the beautiful demonic flower and the starlight, serene indigo grass at home every day. Her days were very comfortable, so she had probably forgotten about Yu Yang. As for the mysterious beauty who looked like the beautiful principal, Princess Sisai didn't mention her at all, as if she didn't exist. Yu Yang wanted to ask, but he felt that Princess Sisai, this rouge tigress, was already jealous when she mentioned fallen flowers. If he asked the mysterious beauty, she might turn into a crazy tigress. In the end, he endured it and didn't ask. If his cousin Yu Yu and sister Yu Bing weren't together, Yu Yang would definitely not let go of this opportunity. This rouge tigress was not bad-looking, her figure was even better, and her strength was passable. As for her personality and temper, forget it. The most important point was that this girl's 6 records inherent skill was always a threat. If he pushed her down and made her his woman, then the threat would no longer exist. Although her father Jun Wu Yu was an emperor, and pushing down his daughter might anger him, but pushing down this rouge tigress had already become Yu Yang's long-awaited wish, so he definitely couldn't let it go. Maybe Princess Sisai realized that it was dangerous to be with Yu Yang, so she deliberately pulled Yu Yu and even pulled Yu Bing along. In front of his cousin and sister, it was not easy for Yu Yang to become a big pervert. Tong Tian Tower. Returning to the first floor of Tong Tian Tower, Yu Yang was very comfortable this time, with the 3 beauties by his side. The last time he ran through Yulong Valley, he was drenched in sweat. This time, he didn't even need a teleportation scroll. He sat in the sky carriage, which was pulled by a large group of deer eagles. Furthermore, he was treated by Princess Sisai. I've never seen such a stingy person like you. Why are you keeping so much money? Princess Sisai was furious with Yu Yang's shameless behavior of not paying. I'm keeping it to get a wife, Yu Yang said confidently. When Princess Sisai heard this, she rolled her eyes. She was depressed for a long time. Even after sitting in the sky carriage for a long time, she still wanted to throw Yu Yang out. Yu Bing had never sat in this kind of sky carriage that cost 20 gold coins. Looking at the scenery outside, she was extremely excited. Yu Yang had sat in planes many times before, so he didn't feel anything towards this slow sky carriage. While the 3 girls were chatting, he took out the mysterious notebook that the tragic guy's parents had left behind. Even with his level 3 divine vision, he couldn't see through the hidden words. However, with his naked eye ability, he could faintly see some information. In his dream world, Yu Yang had learned a kind of innate perception from the big loli that the heavenly sword goddess had transformed into. Combining them, he could vaguely sense some information inside. Maybe those were the information left behind by his mother. She pointed out, when cultivating beasts, the longer the cultivation period is, the greater the growth. Within the same level, the more times a beast learns and breaks through, the better it is. On the contrary, if a beast doesn't learn and only relies on energy to level up, it would be harmful to the beast's growth. She also pointed out that a beast's growth could be divided into 5 different paths. The first path was to rely on energy to level up. Letting the beast swallow magic crystals to level up was the fastest, but also the most harmful to the beast's future growth. The second path was to fight to level up. Letting the beast learn and level up in battle was the best, but the slowest and most dangerous way to level up. It wouldn't be a problem for a super strong warrior, but for a normal warrior with low strength, letting the beast level up in battle was a joke. This was because it would easily cause the beast to die or become crippled. There was no guarantee. This kind of method was best used by warriors with great potential to cultivate their guardian beasts. The third path was to combine the inside and the outside, feeding the beast magic crystals while fighting to level up. This was also the method that most warriors in the Soaring Dragon continent used. Leveling up was fast, but it was only better than the first path that purely relied on energy to cultivate. For a normal warrior, this was the best method, but for a super strong warrior, this was not the best choice. This was because after leveling up to a certain level, the beast would reach a bottleneck. Unless there was a fortuitous encounter, it would never be able to advance further. The fourth path was to combine the human and the beast into one, growing together. This was the best method, but not everyone could use it, as they were limited by their own conditions. Yu Yang noticed that Princess Sisai had used this method. City Mistress Fallen Flowers and the Mysterious Beauty were also similar. Of course, they did not only have one beast, but Princess Sisai only used one guardian beast, so she was more focused on cultivating it. What shocked Yu Yang was that the fifth path was similar to his own body. The pitiful guy's mother pointed out that this kind of growth method could not be replicated. It must be a warrior with a special physique who could form a blood contract with the beast, turning the beast into a guardian beast. Then, after cultivating the guardian beast to a holy beast and above, using a secret method, the beast could become a mythical beast or even higher. Yu Yang was surprised that the pitiful guy's mother also knew about the blood contract. Furthermore, he realized that he had always used this method to contract beasts. He did not deliberately do it, but the end result was very coincidental. It was the same as the fifth path that the pitiful guy's mother had mentioned. Through the guidance of the mysterious notes, Yu Yang learned a lot of secrets. However, there were even more secrets hidden deep within. Yu Yang sighed inwardly. If his divine vision was upgraded to level 4, he believed that he would be able to discover even more secrets. This mother is definitely an amazing person. Only Queen Vivian Li knew about the blood contract, and she also knew about it. She's not simple, Yu Yang exclaimed in his heart. Yu Yang thought about it carefully now. He felt that his physique was different from other people's, perhaps because he had crossed over to another world. The tavern girl had died, but she had turned into a guardian beast and even contracted with him. This was impossible for the people of the Soaring Dragon continent. There was also the Bloody Queen, who had merged with the Phantom Shadow and became a guardian beast. The Barbarian Cow Shadow had also evolved after taking over the Bronze Barbarian Cow. As for Little Wen Li, there was no need to talk about her. Queen Fei Wen Li had contracted her and hatched her in front of him. There was also the mysterious Golden Beast and the Reaper Mantis that had not hatched yet. They were also related to his blood. Furthermore, the Thorny Flower Demoness had even licked his blood before. Yu Yang thought about it carefully and felt that he should explore this direction in the future. Unfortunately, his divine vision, level 3, couldn't see through all the information. Yu Yang could only see a limited amount of the secret information left behind by the pitiful guy's mother. What book are you reading? Princess Sisai was very curious. Erotic pictures. Yu Yang was afraid that Tigress would be curious, so he gave her a perverted answer to quell her curiosity. Princess Sisai punched him, but didn't say anything. She had the extremely sharp 6 records inherent skill, so she could tell that this brat was lying again. However, although Princess Sisai was curious about his endless secrets, she couldn't force him if he didn't say it out loud. Hearing this, Yu Yu's face turned red. She glanced at Yu Yang awkwardly and saw that it was only a notebook in his hands. She heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Only then did she realize that this mischievous brother was teasing Princess Sisai. Yu Bing had never doubted her brother's ability. Furthermore, she knew that her brother especially liked to tease Princess Sisai, laughing secretly. Right now, she laughed more every day than she did in a month. She had already walked out of the lonely and bitter psychological shadow. Returning to the star's domain, they arrived at the entrance of the 12 golden temples. Princess Sisai and Yu Yu couldn't enter, so they waited outside. Yu Yang and his sister Yu Bing formed a team and entered the 12 zodiac temples. Because Yu Yang had already passed the Aries temple, this time, he and Yu Bing were teleported to the Taurus temple. Brother, let me take the lead. Yu Bing decided to perform well in front of her brother. No, I have a better idea. Yu Yang suddenly thought of a secret technique in the mysterious notebook. Maybe this secret technique could be used on Yu Bing. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.